I think we're live. I actually have to eat. Man, I'm getting better at this setup thing. Look at this. Look at that. Today we're going to build a pretty interesting piece of software, which is controlling a DSP board and basically building a web UI for it. And this is for a friend who's building speakers. So it's a DSP board that controls the volume and the EQ digitally for a speaker. It's like an amplifier with a little DSP board. The protocol's kind of janky. It's connected over UDP, over Ethernet, and it's pretty badly described. Like I already did like a fair amount of work on this to control the device over the years. Like I started, LLMs were not what they were today, um, but now they are what they are today. So I'm pretty excited to actually give it a new go because a lot of the things that I was really struggling with, like parts of the protocol didn't work the way they actually happened on the Ethernet port. Right, like it didn't fit the documentation. I reverse engineer some flags. I don't like reverse engineering and like pattern matching bytes, just like drives me wild. So in January, I used O3 to reverse engineer a protocol. I just pasted some wirecap dumps in there, and then it worked. So I was like, holy shit. Um, but like there were still not agents. Like building a UI was still something I was struggling with. I didn't have the experience that I have now. And I've been procrastinating on this for way, way, way too long. So today's a good time to do that. Hey SNC, how you doing? I'm gonna actually post this on Mastodon because I'm really curious if people from Mastodon are gonna come. Um, but um, I'm gonna re like I can't quote on here, right? But I'm just gonna be posting as a reply. Um, all right, so live now, building a DSP controller, web UI plus some protocol reverse engineering and other shenanigans. LLMs, vibe coding, chat GPT, I don't know. um, and I'm not gonna post like an AI thumbnail. Like I don't need to push it that far. Um, all right. Um, Also, I'm hungry. I've got a donut, so I'm going to eat a donut on stream. That's pretty cool too. Um, Let me show you what this looks like in real life. This is the DSP. So this is the amplifier, right? It's connected over Ethernet. It speaks a weird ass protocol. It has like a Windows software, and the goal is like my buddy, right, builds these like multi-system, like multi-speaker kind of spatial audio software like studio setups, and basically instead of having like four different master volume channels, you would only have one, and you would be able to switch presets pretty nicely from your phone or something like that. Mm. So that's what we're building. I haven't touched this in like 6 months, and haven't touched it in 6 months. And also, most of the software I built like 2 years ago, just to tell you how long I've been procrastinating. So a lot of it is like built manually. And interestingly, the manual software that I wrote is like kind of messy usually, right? Because you're like time constrained, and then I don't spend the time to like clean it up or so. Um, which is odd, right? It's like I'm much more comfortable with LLM generated code. It's just like easier to manage and easier to come back to often. Sometimes it's like a huge mess, but usually it's like fairly consistent. And if it hasn't been vibed to shreds, then it has a pretty nice structure. The way I phrase it is like LLM code is always like great code, but sometimes it makes no sense, right? Sometimes it's just like it makes absolutely no sense, but it looks great. like well indented. It's like consistent in its naming. It follows like usually idioms. Maybe it mixes idioms from other programming languages, right? Like who knows? But so anyway, first thing I'm going to do is just clean up my workspace a little bit. And I'm going to create, let me close all my editors. And I was doing like cool shit, but I forgot about it. So I actually didn't forget about it, but it's for another day. All right, let's close this as well. We have a fresh state, and I think I'm just going to start the Windows software just to make sure that this stuff still works. So this is the original software. Um, I'm not going to download the latest version. And so here, what it does is it will use UDP broadcast, which has been like a pain in the butt to actually implement on both Mac and Linux because it's kind of like a deprecated interface that people make really hard to use. But it pings basically 255, 255, 255, 255 over UDP, and then that allows it um, to discover these things. And then you have like user presets that you can manage. I actually don't remember how this all works, to be honest. Device network settings. And how do I actually control this? Do I need to double click on this? Is it not working because of, oh, there we go. So this is kind of the software. And like basically what I want to control is like these sliders here. So I think if we, let's move this over. I think if we start looking at, come on, run in the background, please. If we start sniffing what's going on, I don't even remember which port it's using. So the first thing we're going to do, this is the software that I built. I am actually going to pretend that I don't know anything about this software because I kind of don't. I don't remember it. I know let me see, what is the stats? It's 7,000 lines of Go, 5,000 lines of TypeScript. So I probably already built a web UI. There's like uncommitted stuff, it looks like. There's a mobile app. Oh, there's an Expo app. We're going to commit this and like just push it aside after that. So I'm going to ignore the node modules just to be um, cleaner. Let's see what happens if I just add this to. Is there stuff that shouldn't be in there? Yeah, it looks good to me. I'm going to create a branch. I'm just going to commit it to main because vibes. All right, so I'm just going to do poop commit intermediate unknown state. All right, what next? What next? We're going to push that. Let me see. Let me look at the log. 7 weeks ago is the last time. Oh, I probably added like I probably started like a little pass at a mobile app. And then the protocol I reversed engineered in January, I think, or maybe December, 7 months ago. And then the previous commit was like 2 years and 6 months. Oh, Jesus Christ. So this was definitely very, very, very early days. This was like probably GPT 3.5 and then mostly manual coding probably. So it's going to be interesting. Like this is if we look at the structure of this, then we do have a bunch of Go stuff with the CLI. I spent quite a while like building a simulator because I didn't have the device at first. So I had like a simulator based on the protocol spec, but of course that didn't go as far because the protocol spec is wrong, or at least doesn't correspond to whatever is on the board. All right, anyway, well, I'm going to push this. Um, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my workspace manager, which allows me to create like work trees across multiple repos. I'm going to use the glazed repo, which is my command line terminal UI kind of widget thingy. I'm going to use Boba which is my terminal UI widgets actually. I'm going to use PPA control, and I think that's it. And then I'm going to say like add web UI PPA control. This didn't work. Repositories not found, PPA control. Okay, that's because I need to discover it. So I think this discovers like Git repos. This is kind of dangerous because I don't know if it will just like recognize this one. Oh, it found it. Cool. So now I have a workspace that's separate with work trees with my three Git repos checked out. This workspace manager tool is something I entirely vibe coded. I have actually no idea how it works. Um, I just like entirely added all these features. I do know that it's like getting at the slop limit, and I try to vibe refactor where I just pointed the model at it and basically refactor this. And it refactored it and broke everything. so so I undid that. And this has put me on a journey to try to to dig deeper into this like vibe refactoring, because I find like vibe refactoring, like refactoring in general, right? You have a pretty clear idea. Usually it's not rocket science of what the code base should look like, right? Is like if I look at this verb at this tool that manages Git work trees, I'm going to be like, okay, well, I want like a Git functionality module. I want like a way to track work trees. I want to have like a file per verb. Maybe I want to have like a common way of displaying UI, right? Like none of this is like really rocket science. It's also very well known in the training corpus. Usually, I can also brainstorm a structure around it with like a thinking model and kind of like a back and forth chat thing. I can draw things on paper, but it's like coming up with a good refactor target is usually pretty easy, as if evidenced by the fact that you can ask the model for a refactor suggestion, and usually it's pretty good. Um, and if it's not pretty good, you will probably only discover once it's built that it maybe has some quirks, right? And like that's true LLM or not, is like you can design a whiteboard, you can talk with your colleague, you can like come up with your own architecture. Usually you're like a little bit self deceived by your own architecture because it makes sense for your brain, but not necessarily for the computer, your colleagues. So there has to be a way, once you have this like target plan, most of the work after that is like mostly pattern matching stuff, right? Like there's no real super brain involved. Nothing about it is like necessarily super creative. Like there's going to be creative untangling of things potentially, but most of it, like especially with a tool like this, where it works, and then uh, hey James, how's it going? Yeah, so the Redis agent bus stuff from yesterday, I did way more this morning. It's like a pretty wild thing. And but I'm not gonna tangent on this because otherwise I won't actually do anything productive on this stream. So anyway, vibe refactoring, cool, but like not easy. Not easy. And it's not refactoring is not easy in the real world, right? Like for exactly kind of the same reasons, is that it's possible to just go sideways and then break a lot of things, even though it looks on the surface like they work, right? Like, because maybe your integration tests weren't like correct. Like maybe you were focusing on the wrong thing. Maybe you had like a blind spot. Um, and that's even more true with LLMs, right? Because they don't understand anything. They're just like pattern matching around with more or less reasoning, more or less like intricate kind of stuff. They have like feedback loops that might or might not feedback on the right thing. Um, so even more harder to kind of find a way to basically say, hey, what's a good structure, what's a good workflow to refactor huge code bases and have a way to assess it through the eyes of an LLM if this is actually a good refactor, which is like even harder, right? Because I mean, there's taste coming into it, right? How do I communicate my own personal taste to the LLM so it doesn't like use some run of the mill things? But anyway, we have our workspace set up. I'm going to, one of the functionalities I wanted to add and I wanted to have a refactor first is I want to have like a whole set of scripts running when I check out a workspace to do this kind of like go work use stuff that I'm that I'm doing manually by hand right now. Um, but so now we're going to start AMP code by source graph, which is my coding agent. And it's like, I don't remember what I did last in PPA control. Does it even have like, am I in the right directory? I'm not in the right directory, am I? There we go. I don't remember what I did last in PPA control README. I don't know the quality of the code base, but I want to build a web UI for the DSP board. Please go through the code base and git logs and documentation and write a nice report on what is currently there and what I might want to tackle next. Use parallel subagents as you go to explore different parts and then synthesize their results. Each subagent should also write reports, store them in PPA control T10 250713. So this is a way for me currently to store like intermediate garbage, and kind of making it clear through this T10 thing that um, it's like potentially transient. The things I was playing with yesterday, James, right? Like the task system, that would be like maybe a better way to separate like the intermediate slop that you need to do work from actually being in the code base and kind of like having this influence of slop being added in the like necessary kind of like intermediate stuff that actually should be removed pretty strongly from the code base after the fact to not confuse the LLM even more, right? And like that's one of the main ways I can see these like longer agent loops getting lost is that they start adding like test files to test a certain functionality and they're not like really regimented. They tend to forget like agent MD kind of instructions of where to put things to delete them afterwards. And then the sonnet slop comes in where we'll like say, oh, performance is really important. You should use like parallel caching, complicated stuff, and then it will just like derail everything. So I store them in ttemp, which I found, at least for me, a good way of keeping track of like what is this thing? Um, but I do have ideas on like moving this entirely to a database out of the way and then also a little bit easier to query. So let's just let run this thing. It's going to take a while, so I'll be probably going to be yapping on the side, or maybe show how vibe coding as a modality I think makes sense, which is what are we even trying to build, right? It's like I want to build a web UI for a DSP control system. What are the specs? Like, what does my buddy actually want to have, and what do customers maybe want to have? Sorry for eating.
So what you can see, by the way, just to show people who might not have seen agent coding before, and I realized this morning showing screens, like maybe I should go into the fundamentals. I'm so used to seeing this stuff. So AMP is basically, you can imagine all these agent coders like Cloud Code, AMP Code, Codex CLI, Gemini CLI, like whatever they're all called, open code, are pretty much a loop around an LLM call. The output of the LLM gets interpreted in the sense that if there's something that resembles a tool call, it will be running that tool and then feeding back the output of that tool back into the context window and then running a new LLM inference. That's like the gist of it. Torsten Ball has written like a pretty good blog post showing how trivial these things are, at least at the surface. So agent, how to build an agent in 300 lines. Like it's literally a loop around an LLM, and then you give an LLM what's called tool calling for people who might not know too much about LLM or the state of LLM programming. A tool call is basically some kind of structured data that you extract from the response. There's like models have been trained on it. There's like better or less tool calling, less good tool calling models. And a tool call can be anything, be running a shell script. It could be whatever you hook up to it, right? So coding agents usually have like tools to edit files. They have tools to execute a process. They have usually tools to search the web, and they have tools to search the code base. So you can kind of see the tools that Amcode uses by asking it, maybe. MCLI requires, why are you not using NVM use v22? Why is that not automatic? What are your tools? Right, so it will make a list of the tools there. Nothing is rocket science. You can add your own tools there, but also because you can execute any kind of process, right? And I know people freak out when you tell that. You're like, oh, I'm giving an LLM the opportunity to run anything on my system. Is like, well, it's going to ask me for confirmation before running it, right? Yeah, James, I think that's kind of what I want to explore, which is if you like already constrain where the slop goes through say a dedicated database, that I think already shields the code base a lot, because file-based interactions are not going to uncover LLM created slop. It's not like it's going to find like a README MD that's actually like just kind of like the README MD that it decided to use for like an intermediate tool that it decided to build out of a QA end-to-end test keyword that it saw in like a to-do.md, I think that's one that's already kind of nice. And then if you are able to pin them down to like agents specifically, like why does this file exist? What was it created for? Which is hard to kind of get out of pure text files. I think that might help quite a bit in being able to ensure this like more pristine quality of intermediate code base statuses. It's just an idea. So here you can see the tools that Mcode has. It has like reading a file, creating a file, editing a file, undo edit, interesting. Listing a directory, globbing, which is just calling ripgrep, or grep is calling ripgrep, and then you have a code-based search agent, which I think does like a little bit more. You have like web search and reading a web page. You have bash, you have Oracle, which calls all three. You have tasks. So, I mean, one thing to be aware of is like you have web, but especially you have like execute process, which where is execute process? It doesn't even show it here. But if you can execute a curl call, you can extract information out of here, right? So like if you do have some prompt injection somewhere, it's only possible that this thing will like extract and send stuff out to the big world. That's why Codex CLI runs in, or a Codex, the background agents in Codex run in a Docker container, but also have like a proxy firewall in front of them. Yeah, so that is really true, James. Is like when you refactor, you actually want your code base usually to be broken at least for a while, because migrating a big code base, especially for a tricky refactor, such that it compiles at every step of the way, is like overcomplicating the refactor, right? It just like adds so much. It's just like playing on hard mode to say like I'm gonna migrate this thing to a totally different system, but everything has to work like all the time. So that's definitely something I see is like, oh, the lint will like kick in, then we'll say like, oh my God, the dependency has been broken. I need to write like a wrapper for the interface that I tried to wrap like 2 commits ago. That's like the usual failure scenario that I see. And like even if I think Sonnet has been trained on like keeping backwards compatibility. So even if you like strongly tell it to remove files or do like negative prompting, which never really worked, of like not caring about backwards compatibility, it will still do it. If you use O3 plans, it's actually O3 is pretty good at planning without giving a shit about backwards compatibility. So if you give those to sonnets, it's like more effective. But still, it's like it will always happen, right? It's like at some point it's just going to happen. So you can disable the linter, which is something that I do. It's like I actually go in, I manually delete the files and the functions. I'm like, this is gone. Like, try to build it without this legacy stuff. That works pretty well, but of course needs me to be in the loop. I'm sure I'll crack the nut. Like I think I already made like a big progress yesterday in finding some patterns to do this like more, large scale work focused on quality. So the sub agents have finished. So sub agents is basically just as an agent is a loop around an LLM with a context window that grows, a sub agent is basically the same thing. And this allows you to do a lot of work, right? Because every time you edit a file, do whatever, correct some linting errors, your context window grows. As the context window grows, usually when it hits like 50% of the advertised size, it really starts to degrade and you should stop using it. The sub agents allow you to like delegate a bunch of stuff to another growing context window and then keep the main one pristine. And I think while I have strong ideas, that we actually have at work like a pattern that allows you to do sub agents, but not calling them sub agents, and it's much more powerful and it's composable. We'll be able to write about it soon. We're not building a coding agent, by the way. It's just a way to do prompt engineering. Um, but so here it started like things in parallel, especially with like read-only agents. It's like nice to start them in parallel. So it's like, oh, one of them is going to look at the Git history, and one of them is going to look at the structure, and one of them is going to be looking at these things. That's where this like chat system that I built yesterday, if James, since you were here, comes in handy. It's like it would allow these like read-only things to just like also give a little bit more context as each of them starts discovering things about the code base. Because I think it's useful for the sub agent one that explores the code base to kind of give information to the other agents as it moves forward. So anyway, let's open the editor on the code base. I hate this thing where you start an editor, you start doing something, and then something steals the focus. It drives me wild. Wait, okay, I need to go into my workspaces, add web UI PPA control, and then, yeah, let's open the whole thing. Let something come back on social media. Yeah, not much. This is a weird thing. It's like people will be like ranting against LLMs, and I'm like, hey, check this out. My GitHub, it has like all these things. It seems that it doesn't match your understanding of them, and then I never hear back. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I don't know. It actually really triggers me. I'm like, but you're wrong. Look, I've got a concrete evidence. I've been doing it. Uh, so org3, the one I'm using is AmpCode by SourceGraph, so ampcode.com. I know a lot of people use Cloud Code. This one works well for me, and I'm like tired of changing tools all the time, so that's the one I'm using. You pay by the token, so it can get fairly expensive pretty quickly, but I mean, for me, it's worth it. Yeah, no worries. I find it great. I also don't think there's a significant difference with the other agents, to be honest. I mean, maybe there is, but I've heard so much good about Cloud Code that I think it's like roughly equivalent. So anyway, I had it analyze the Git history and the code base, which is all, like text pattern matching. Like that's fine. I kind of trust LLMs to go do a reasonably decent job. So Git history, what is it going to tell me is mature, yeah, okay. Initial commit, so the foundations were built in June, July 2022, Jesus. So this was before ChatGPT actually, right? So this was handcrafted with Copilot, maybe some GPT-3, I don't know. Then this is after ChatGPT. Enhanced protocol support. I think this is when I started I did another pass, and then that's when I realized, oh shit, like the protocol really doesn't correspond to the spec. Um, and then in December of this year, of last year, sorry, that's when I did a big push. It was before agent coding, but I had Cursor at this point, and like Sonnet existed, right? Like I think every time like a big shift in LLM coding happened, this is when I started using Cursor. Um, that's when I got like a boost of enthusiasm, like right now. And then I give it like this very short mobile development where it's just like, oh yeah, let's just like have it add some expo kind of thing. And then, all right, so this kind of corresponds to what I did. And then the interesting one is maybe December 2024. I added an HTTP server, which I think was a little bit broken. That's when I stopped. I was like, that's when I started learning how to build web UIs basically because I always sucked at it. Um, and then I stopped on the WebSocket kind of stuff. I got much better at building like real-time web application using sockets. So we might go back to it and just fix it, right? Um, so this was the Git history understanding. And this is like a first example. Like I don't care if all of this is like super correct. It's just like it actually probably did a good job of condensing the Git history into a document that helps me. Um, Certainly did a better job than me per using this and like in the fact that it was like faster and stuff. Um, all right, let's go. Let's go look at the code base structure report. Similarly, perfect target for like probabilistic models, pattern matching stuff. So we have a DSP board management system, network-based real-time monitoring and packet analysis. See, I think this is the stuff that doesn't work all that well. We have fine for the GUI development. I think I'm going to kill that. So I'm going to start making a to-do list of the things that I want to do as I start looking at these things. And I think one of the reasons I really like the LLM driven thing is that right now I'm in vibe mode, right? Like I'm having a chat with you, I'm not in coder brain, and yet I can do these very like high level kind of decisions and idea making without going into detail work, right? Like if we were in a meeting, I started analyzing the Git log, it would be like, yeah, what am I doing? Hey, Simon. So I'm building this for Simon actually. So um, hopefully I actually get something that works instead of yapping all the time. So I'm going to start writing down some ideas of what I want to do. Is like remove the fine stuff, which was the initial UI that I wanted to build. I'm going to fix the WebSocket stuff for the live web UI. I'm going to prototype some UI ideas for the final product. And anything else here? I think this is all good. Add glazed to the mix if not present already. And then maybe make a REPL for testing. So that's more like experimental ideas. But we could also just like let an agent run them. We have the CLI tool, we have the web interface, we have the fine-based UI test, we have the PCAP, capture protocol thing. I don't know what these are. Then we have a library. See, this was started in 2022. This is before I even started my whole open source ecosystem. So at the time when I started, I hadn't like any of the huge frameworks that I have now. So that's going to be fun because I probably never weave them in. So maybe this is, yeah, rework all the tools to use glazed. I'm actually going to start with that, right? It's like in a set of parallel, actually use the no, analyze the CLI verbs and make a plan on how to migrate them to use glazed. C commands reference. So Glazed is a framework that I built. I also started this before LLMs to basically do terminal UIs with like structured output, like help things, but also it allows you to define commands pretty easily. So commands is like a way of defining parameters, and this allows you to like introspect parameters and set them from config files, from the environment variables. You can have like middlewares to parse parameters. Like for those like I mostly work in like infrastructure and backend stuff. And when you start having an application that has like both Postgres and Elasticsearch and LLM config and Redis, and you have all these parameters and like credentials to fetch and set, and it was starting to become like a big mess. So I have this whole ecosystem to do this and do there's like a nice little help browsing system that allows you to like get help on different topics. There's even like a little help UI that I built recently. Um, all of these were like vibe coded. The UI was vibe coded. A lot of the other stuff was like painstakingly refactored over time. And the latest refactor I did is like I kind of over engineered the I kind of over-engineered the API, and LLMs don't do well with like over-engineered APIs that make a lot of assumptions. So I had to like simplify and break down the API, which conversely makes it much easier for humans to use as well. I'll be right back. Uh, all right. Um, so anyway, I'm gonna port PPA control over to this framework because I think it's not. But first, I'm gonna have it like make a plan, right, in a sub agent, then have the Oracle review this plan and keep it tight and on point. So that's because the sub-agent is going to use Sonnet to do the exploration. It's good at tool calling. It will know which files to look at and all of that. But then it's probably going to make a pretty sloppy plan. So I'm going to have O3 review it. Keep these in ttemp as well in a subfolder called glazed. So it's going to read this reference, right? Like the command reference here that I'm referencing is like commands reference, I think. Yeah, so this is a whole guide on how this commands framework works, which is to make things work well for the LLM, it has to be concise, clear, unambiguous, and give real world examples that work. So basically, it's a good documentation for humans as well, right? It's like you want to give a good overview of how this works. There's like three types of commands. Glaze is structured. This is something I can write into a writer, and this is like just nothing. You have, right? So this is just like to make it work well with the LLM, you have to like specify all the package names explicitly because otherwise it will like not figure out any kind of thing that is missing to if you're not able to one-shot a valid program out of this documentation, then the LLM is going to struggle, right? But that's also like a great documentation. If I can give you this like concise markdown file and you're able to write a whole set of valid applications, it's great documentation for a human as well, right? So I actually really enjoy this because when I don't remember how something that I built works, I know, oh, you're going to have like a great little documentation for reference. And then I also generate like all kinds of tutorials. Um, so I think you can query like this because I also invented like a little search DSL. So I think you can type tutorial. Yeah. And so this one doesn't have like too many tutorials. This is something that um, I need to do more, but you basically have these like little step-by-step things on how to do something, which are great to control the LLM, right? It's like step one, step two, step three, step four. There's like no way for the LLM to not, because it's pattern matching, it will just like know, okay, well, maybe I need to take this, but instead of logging, it's going to be like web server settings, and then it's able to merge all of that. So that's a pretty effective technique, and because it's Go, everything's like bundled into this one binary. So I just need to pass the binary to the agent. So like, please read the docs. Um, so this is running in a sub agent again right now, right? Like, because 22% of our top level context window is now used. Um, But in the meantime, this is going to be reading like a ton of files uh, and like blasting its own context window, but I don't care. I only want to have a plan at the end of the day. So, mm, 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 mm. Sorry about that. This is something that maybe a lot of people who are skeptical of LLMs for programming also might be missing. I haven't written a single line of code with an LLM yet, right? All I'm doing is like kind of helping me navigate the code base, helping me create like guides to do a certain thing, which I can then review, right? Or I can trust them and say like, go ahead, because and the trust builds over experience basically. Like there's parts that I know will work well, and then there's parts that I have experienced to not go well, which means that I either have to become better at prompting, which is like a process that might or might not work, right? Or I need to break down my problem in like smaller steps, and that's where my experience again comes in, where I'm like, okay, well, I can't do this all at once, so maybe I should break it down into like sub problem solving steps, and that's where like my creativity and like taste and experience as a programmer comes in. uh, it's not about like reviewing the code that the AI does, in as much as like knowing how to break it down so that I have a very easy way of validating if the output is great, right? So anyway, we did look at the Git history analysis. We're looking at the code base structure, which led me to the idea of building a, how can I avoid it having it like um, switch the view, whatever. Um, so we have the CLI, we have the PCAP, we have the web. I don't know what these two are. So we might delete them, because if they're slop, we might want to delete them. Delete this. Yeah, because if they're slop and you have like test slop, it might decide to keep them alive, which I don't want to keep them alive. I don't want it to write like a agent test, channel test, backwards compatibility wrapper factory or something like that. Um, device simulator, I don't know if I want to keep the device simulator. I don't think we'll be using it. This was like before I had a board to test things with. Um, the system follows a layered architecture with clear separation. This is slop, right? This is stuff that is like not really useful. Also, maybe is like kind of okay because that's indeed how I kind of designed it, but also it doesn't tell us anything. Extensive use of Cobra for CLI commands, so we'll replace that with glazed. Server sent events for real-time updates, channel-based communication for discovery updates. This we might want to use an event-driven system. Use Go channel pub/sub event-driven system for internal updates. That way we can have a Go routine that is responsible for the UDP communication and then broadcasts like event to the rest of the application, and similarly just uses like CQRS to get commands. I hate this markdown rendering. Code quality 5 stars. Great, man. I don't think so. Proper middleware. Like this is pure slop. This is pure sonnet nonsense. This is useful, I guess. Discovery with live updates. It doesn't tell you anything about if it works or not, obviously, right? Because it will just do pattern matching. So these things don't really trust them too much. It is true that there's some structured logging. It's true that there's some panic recovery. It doesn't mean that it works well or that it is even correct or present, actually. Centralized command execution context. So this is the multi-client setup is something I built at first because I want to have like one client that I can use to control multiple controllers. This was before I got better at event-driven design with Go, and it's actually not neither a good target for making it work easily, but it's also not a good target for an LLM. So we might want to revisit that as well as a corollary. Keep the multi-client or not. And here you can see actually something where LLM refactoring might go really awry. Um, if I say, oh, turn this into like an event-driven system, but it finds this multi-client, it will try to make the multi-client work with the event-driven system. But the point of the event-driven is to actually get rid of the multi-client kind of abstraction. So that's something LLMs want to understand, at least currently, at least maybe they might with prompted. So we're actually going to look at that and use a prompt to do that. So this is a good demo to do. Use Oracle O3 to analyze how to do that. Okay, moving on in our code base structure report. Again, I care a lot about code base quality. This is where LLMs help me care a lot about code base quality. Is like I can do this like high level planning with the assumption that I actually have like a whole team that's going to be able to build these things for me pretty quickly. I kind of have a good sense of how much they can do and how to coordinate them. And so I am able to entirely focus my thinking on what are our goals, what is good design, what is all of that. And still, no code has been written, right? Like even if the only outcome of this is like a good report and plan MD, and I get to write it by hand, I've won. I've won like a lot of quality just because I have these like little research and planning agents that allow me to, because this is like a very structured kind of markdown, it's also very easy for me to scan versus someone's note in Google Drive or so, um, or even like just a meeting where no one takes notes or a transcript of a meeting. Um, and I kind of have a good sense to be like, yeah, I don't care about this. This is nonsense. And this comes through experience. Like I think people think, oh, you tell it and then you accept everything that comes out of the LLM. It's like, no, it's like much more nuanced than that. It's a hard skill to learn. And that's why it's often possible to hear discussions amongst people who use LLMs a lot and not maybe be able to follow or like understand what this is about because it's such a different jargon or like a different understanding of how to deal with the output of models. Um, and people care a lot about this because if you don't care about this, you don't get stuff built, right? It's like you have to be cognizant of that this kind of stuff is not to be trusted, or it doesn't mean nothing, or that is actually actively harmful because it will say like, oh, this is like a high quality clean abstraction. And when I ask it to refactor, I'll be like, high quality clean abstraction, I absolutely have to keep it. And you're like, no, no, no. Or things like proper resource cleanup. It's like, oh, I need to keep backwards compatibility for resource cleanup. And you're like, no, 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 no. The new architecture makes cleanup like void. Excellent Go practices. Like, my code is so great. So I would completely delete that part. There's to-do comments and web handlers. That's cool. I knew that the web handlers were not good. Deployment and operations. Like, yeah, none of this is like really important. This is good. Anything that has like concrete keywords that point to functionality and such. Graceful cleanup on disconnection might or might not be an interesting thing to keep in there. Buffer channels to prevent blocking. That's why I want an event-driven system, right? So event-driven system removes the need for channel shenanigans with the web UI. I'm gonna have to go to the bathroom. So I'll leave you look at the agent maybe a little bit. So the sub agent has finished and has built these like Oracle review glazed move. I'll kick this off. So let's go quickly over the summary. Hopefully I don't have to pee too bad. 6 CLI command needs migration, ping, volume, recall, simulate, UDP, broadcast, and route. Already to simulate, I know I don't want to keep. Current architecture uses custom command context wrapper around Cobra. High compatibility with glazed patterns, the structure. So we have these current patterns, addresses, discover. Uh, all networks commands follow this pattern. Place command analysis. So this all looks good. I'm pretty good at scanning code as it scrolls by, so you have to trust it. Trust me that it looks good. What is this? Yeah, see the multi-client stuff is like, I'm really skeptical of that. We'll have to, that's going to be like maybe the tricky part here to implement. So um, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Integration test.go. What is this? Yeah, we don't see, this is the backwards compatibility stuff. I don't think there's an integration test.go. Is there? Jail integration test? Oh, but that's somewhere else, right? Like, so this is harmful slop. This is harmful testing validation. And usually when I go into testing validation, I just like delete all of it. Migration benefits, I also don't care about. Integration with data pipeline, long-term benefits, command composability, all of that is like kind of useless. Configuration management, technical challenges. So this is interesting. This is going to be stuff to absolutely delete because it's going to be very misleading. I also don't want full code to be in there because it kind of already did the refactor in disguise, right? The existing command context is tightly coupled to Cobra and may not integrate smoothly. Create a bridge adapter. See, this is like refactor killer. This is like clearly a consequence of Sonnet, and I hope that O3 caught it. Complex channel-based logic, so that's true. But it's not relevant for this refactor, and as such, having this in there is actually like crack cocaine for Sonnet. It will try to do it, and then everything will go all right. Backwards compatibility, absolutely not. Performance impact, absolutely not. So those are really harmful slop enzymes, right? Like slop catalysts. Um, and then this kind of stuff is also slop catalyst because it will integrate, right? Because of the self-attention mechanism, everything that the LLM output previously will influence what comes after. So all the kind of stuff that it did about like challenges will be reflected in the plan at the end. And it's like, no, you shouldn't address challenges at all. But this is interesting. This is interesting, right? I haven't seen this before, but those are, see, the gradual migration is absolute kryptonite for refactors because you don't want to keep everything lockstep correct. You just want to be like, okay, let's migrate the whole thing, make a clean cut, and then afterwards compare and like try to see what we broke. So next step, immediate actions, short-term actions, all of this is slop that I would delete. So let's see what the Oracle did. So Oracle risk level low, and it's going to be layers and API compile time, wrong non-existing function. Where does it find that? No, this is wrong too. What does it do here? What did it do? Yeah, no, this is bad. This was a bad prompt. Let's delete this stuff. So let's go in here, and I'm going to use O3 in Cursor, and I'm going to see clear this plan of. Actually, I'm going to git commit just to be like professional about it. Why did it open VI? Okay, so I'm going to go into PPA control. We have a branch, right? Like the workspace manager creates branches, and then we're just going to go here. What did it diff in? So those are just new lines. Okay, that's cool. So I'm going to say books initial planning inspection of the code base, because then we'll be able to see a diff of what O3 is going to do to our plan. So clear the span of any backwards compatibility, leave only code sketches, not full implementations, remove all the concrete plan steps at the end. Let's see what happens. This is like slightly experimental territory for me. Like before, I would have done this by hand. This is pretty much a prompt that can be commoditized, right? Like this is a prompt that would be applicable to everything. Any kind of refactor plan, I can use O3 to kind of clear this up if it works well enough. And that's what I'm after, right? It's like kind of a pretty good step-by-step process where I could say like, okay, well, inspect the code base, which worked pretty well, right? Then based on the inspection of the code base be, oh yeah, this is a good idea to maybe do. Send off an agent to analyze what needs to be done for this to happen. And then boil, like simmer the plan back down to something that is actually concrete, because currently Sonnet is used for the exploration of the code base by Mcode, but then Sonnet just doesn't do good plans. So here we can see the diff of the plan, which is, I don't like reviewing things this way, but we see that it like removes a lot of the concrete code because this is misleading, right? Like it's already keeping backwards compatibility. Like this is just going to distract the model implementing this. We want to have the command list. We want to see which files are relevant from Glaze. There's the word adapter here, so we're gonna remove this, right? Like we need no adapters. We want a clean conversion. So I'm gonna ask it more to like remove adapters, adapter speak. It removed all the code, so that's good. It will keep the signature, which is important to run in our new context, right? And it will tell us our entry points. So this is like a very kind of clear plan. There's this thing of like real time thing that I already saw before. Curious to see. I'm gonna leave it in here. Performance, I don't give a shit. All detailed timelines, risk tables, and migration strategies. Yeah, we don't even want the node to the thing to work. So integrate CLI and integrate, iterate. So I think this is a good enough plan at this point. I don't like, it's very minimal. It tells us which packages to import, so it gives like the full path. But otherwise, it doesn't tell us very much, which is great. Like I don't want this to be filled with details. I also don't know if I want to have like the dual thing. I don't think I need the dual command, right? So I'm just going to say this is going to be a bare command and not a glaze command. Actually, so some verbs need the dual, the query verbs. Oh, some verbs should return only structured data. Query verbs that don't run for a long time. It's only for long-running polling stuff that we need the non-structured output streaming. For example, ping wouldn't need structured output. Ping, let's see what it does. And I really need to go pee, but I want to kick this off so that you can see what's going to happen. So I put all my effort into having like a pretty minimal, narrow kind of thing. That's mostly because Sonnet is so prone to distraction, right? But Sonnet is also really good at coding in some ways. And also Mcode doesn't give me the choice. So this is good. And I want to be out of the loop as much as possible. So I told it to minimize it, and then I did some kind of review, but I'm not doing like this manual editing, like manual rewording. I do some deleting maybe. No, so polling shouldn't be, yeah, well, we're gonna leave it like that. Like, I don't think this is gonna be too bad. So this is our updated plan. And so now I go back to to the main agent. I think at 25%, it's not bad to leave that be. And then I'm going to say implement migration analysis to replace Cobra with glazed for our CLI tools. C command reference, potentially add a shared layer, custom layer. So here I know how I built my framework. I know which documents to reference to do something. Do this in as parallel as possible, but make sure to do one migration up front. Maybe build the binary, the current binary at first to test against. And then what's the address of this device? How do I go out of this? I think it's in here, right? It's like 192.168.0.200. I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to say there's a real device at 122.160.0.200. You probably will be able to test against it. I'm going to go to the bathroom. You get the pleasure of seeing if it works or not first, right? Oh, I forgot. Like this, so this is going to ask me if I want to run that stuff. Yeah, I should have. Um, oh well, what you got to wait. So for people who are not necessarily used to vibe coding, agent coding, however you want to call it, or I mean in general, like the idea that I have here is like at first I want to make sure that the current stuff compiles and also that it has a help, and all of this stuff is going to go into the context not just of this agent, but every sub agent that's going to actually implement verbs is going to benefit from this, right? And we can see that this seems to be working. Um, at least show some information in here. It will also like self-correct, right? Like it will like say things like this here, um, and it will give us something to test against. And I asked it to do the first conversion in the main thread so that all the sub agents after that are going to do it in the same style. So even though in this case I'm pretty sure they'll, even if I didn't do that, they'll be doing the same pattern, same code, because it's so on Rails, this transformation that I'm doing. But still, it doesn't hurt much. It's not like too many tokens. We're at 30%, right? So the downside of doing these things in the main thread is that of course you're going to add context window to everything that follows, right? I also asked it to like like common parameters, put them in like a custom layer so that I can reuse that across. Oh, the levels are lower. Okay, weird, because they were. Oh, I think I moved my interface earlier. Let me see. Are the levels better now? This is weird. I see them being very low over there. Hello. Okay, I hit the limit. Is that better? No, the input should be good, but I moved the sound card as I was testing the DSP. Yeah, they're oddly low, aren't they? Uh, Shit, I don't know how this works actually. I don't. Hello? 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 All right. Yeah, I think this is better, right? Or is it still too low? I'm like at 60 decibel of boost. I'm hitting 0 dB on the sound card, but it is fairly low over here. Is this better? This is weird. Because usually I would hit. Oh. Oh, it's actually my sound card disappeared. I must have disconnected my sound card. What happened here? All right, now it's probably going to be way too loud. How is it? Is it better now? Yeah, I don't know what happened. It's like it was on my hub actually that it seems to have reset something. Thank you for pointing that out. All right, what is it doing here? It cannot find the module Go Golem glazed, but it has the Go mod. Go get. The package stuff is also a great way to derail Go projects. Is it louder? Is it better? I'm hitting the yellow on here, so maybe I can boost the preamp as well. All right, but so why is it complaining about the middlewares? All right. Is it better? Is it better now? All right, cool. All right, I'm going to eat my donut while this is running. It's curious because that usually has like an indication of the language server running. Doesn't seem to be running in this case. I don't know why. Whatever, we can do without. So it's funny that it vibed all of that because it's supposed to have actually in the context window the actual documentation to do it. So maybe it didn't load it. That's a weird one. I'm not sure what it did here. Like where did it hallucinate that stuff from is like weird because it shouldn't be in the docs. Is it in the docs? Where was that word? New invalid parameter value? New invalid parameter value. It could be that the doc is wrong. No, it's not mentioned anywhere. That's odd. Find name, glaze settings, output settings. What is this being? Okay, whatever. Yeah, this is, what is going on? Like this is doing some, I mean, it's great. Like you're seeing real world experience. What is this model doing right now? Is it like, there's all these rumors that models get dumber based on the time of the day. I'm not, or like that they get dumber on Sundays. I don't really believe that. But it's really oddly struggling here. It's really, really oddly struggling. What the fuck is that? It seems like it didn't read the document at all. That's curious, man. I should have forked the conversation before we started that. Like, see, I referenced the document here, which has like the working API, and then it just like hallucinates everything. Plus thinks it's in the wrong directory. Yeah, it's weird, right? Like people say like, oh, it's brain broken. And there's definitely something happening where they do this stuff, which really they shouldn't kind of do. Like it has the documentation in its context window. So either, and the context window is not full yet. Like this is the kind of errors that they start doing when the context window gets too full. So I'm not really sure. We'll see, right? Like if it catches itself, but if it doesn't catch itself, then I'm pretty sure if I start again, actually with a completely fresh context window with none of that like documentation writing, sub agents and whatever, it should, this is stuff it should be doing pretty well. I mean, you know, I said this is unedited. This is the stuff that happens. And that's like one of the real complexities in doing like big code base work without being in the loop, right? It's like how long is it going to take this thing to self-correct, and will it be able to self-correct, or will it just spiral into nonsense? Because it can also totally spiral into nonsense, saying like, oh, it wasn't able to read one file, so it hallucinates an interface. Then it thinks it needs to preserve that interface that it hallucinated, starts writing adapters around it, then like go completely down the wrong rabbit hole, start deleting the correct files, saying like, oh, well, it seems like these files are like not building correctly. Let me recreate them, and then lose all the things, right? So those could entirely, that's a very real problem. So you can either be in a loop, right? I obviously don't see what the sub agent is doing, and I'm kind of pushing it pretty far because I do want to be like hands off as much as possible to just like see how far I can get away with. But you can also, you know, start looking at things like a little bit more closely to see what is going on here. And so here, PBA base layer, so that's pretty good. Command, see, it's recreating entire commands. And that's dangerous. And it's keeping this command context. Oh, because I didn't say remove the command context. So I think that's what's going on, is it's trying to preserve this like stupid ass command context. that I knew was like going to be problematic, and I sadly didn't say to, I didn't tell it to, what is this command context nonsense, man? PPA control lib encapsulates all command context execution. And oh no, so this is actually a valuable thing, right? What is this doing? Like this is, so this is manual code. This is like handwritten. I think this is like 3 years old or so. And it's definitely like overcomplicated. This needs to be killed, right? And you can see how it trying to preserve backwards compatibility is a real problem for refactoring. So I should have looked at this more closely, as I thought it was a Cobra thing, but it's actually something that I built. And the command context, I think, is okay. Setup context. So maybe it should be created like this, right? It's like setup with params, and then CLI glazed main.go. So it recreated the entire CLI, and that's definitely not something that I want to have. So I'm going to revert all of this nonsense, right? And I'm actually going to start afresh and see what is all going on here. So I'm going to keep the ttemp part. Sparkles, add analysis for migration. And the way I consider it right now is like, okay, well, this was like a compiler run, right? Like I had an idea of how to build something, and I tried it and the compiler told me like syntax error. In a way, right? It's like, so this means, oh, my original program was wrong. So the instructions I gave to the LLM were wrong, and this is all garbage. So I'm gonna add the command and the lib. I'm gonna stash it all. Do I even need to keep it? I'm gonna keep the go mod. I'm not gonna keep the go mod, whatever. Go git go mod tiny. Git add go mod. Art clean up go mod. Okay, so we're gonna restart. We need a different prompt. So either I can write the prompt in here, or I can modify this like CLI migration analysis, right? And I can just like basically write stuff in here by hand. So package commands. So I'm going to start editing things here by hand. Structure. And what's the current command line structure? It's like command, PPA, CLI, commands. Okay, so that's good actually. CLI settings, so struct binding layers to strongly typed settings, no. So this is good. Use init logging from glazed for setting up the logging. C glazed, command glazed, main.go. Add a method, create command context from glazed, from PPA, from parsed layers. Try to keep things as close as possible to the original source. No new files if possible, etc. So I think this might be good. Then let's look at this here. So if we look at the existing ping go, this is going to be setting up the multi-client, setting up the command context, start the multi-client. So all of this shouldn't change, mostly. And yeah, I don't think much of this is going to change, right? Create command. So parse parse layer into PPA settings struct, use that struct to, and because they're language models, like you can kind of be messy with your like with your grammar. What matters is like words mostly, and like a little bit of structure. Use init logging for this. Set up context, multi-client discovery. All right, yeah, this is all. I think this will be better. So let's do it. Implement CLI migration analysis. Use commands reference as helper. Also using layers. .md. Yeah, and do a first verb. After that, use subagents. All right, next try. So I was confused by the command context, and I was as well. I thought it was like a Cobra thing, but it's not a Cobra thing. It's actually the central interface to parse and initialize like shared functionality. So actually, oh, I should be, yeah. Start with ping.go. Also, why did it start with ping.go? And then I liked the prompt that I had previously, which was here. There's a real device. Yeah, so I like this. I like this prompt because it was able to do that. And one thing I miss with mcode is being able to restart at like an intermediate point of my previous conversation, or like as a previous point of the agent running, because up to it starting to modify the code, it was great. Like I got the tested existing PPA ping and like figured out how to do the parameters. So this it will have to redo here. And I could salvage it. In this case, I don't think it would be too useful to salvage it because I'm lazy. But usually I'm pretty cognizant of like, oh, how many tokens is it going to me to recreate this? And I could much more easily recreate an instruction set out of the existing log in one inference and then paste that as a much more concise way of doing things. Because we're like already at 30%, right? Like this went really quick because I added a lot of documentation in here. While previously it was, see this one especially, layers guide is like giganormous. So it might not have been all that useful to put it in here. This one's giganormous as well. So maybe, you know, I'll need like something a little bit smaller or have like a sub-planning thing in there. All right, let me check social media again just because I'm addicted, and that's what you do when your agents run. All right, nothing new here. So the other thing that I would potentially start doing here is I could start like a new. I kind of want to have like the cleaned up commands. But if we go back to our to-do here, there's stuff we could parallelize, right? So we could start parallelizing, having a design for the Go channel pub sub event-driven system. So that's maybe something that's pretty useful. And the thing I'm going to use here is my tool PCP, which just stands for Pinocchio Packer Catter Print, to see a little bit what the lib directory gives us. So I think PCS gives us stats. We have 20,000 tokens in the lib folder. So, oh, it moves the commands over here. Like, I don't want that. Like, keep the commands under commands under. I thought I specified this like more under command PPA CLI commands. So we want to remove the simulator, and also I want to have a design for the event-driven part, and then I want to delete the channel test and the UI test. So, I mean, maybe I just delete those by hand. I don't know what channel test is for. So let's look at that real quick. Create strings. So this is, you can tell it's manual code because I just write like messy stuff in here. I always get confused in Golang on how to close channels. Yeah, this is definitely something that can be related. Command channel test. All right, you go. And then we do have wait for channel client. What the heck is that? What's a client in this context? It's just a channel. All right, this can go as well. I was starting to use Go as my main language back then, so I was like a little bit confused. Wait for channel client. Why does it mark it as deleted, but not as added? Who knows? All right, so this gives us PCP lib is going to give us something we can clip, and then we might give it to O3 Pro. It's only 22,000 tokens. And then I'm just going to paste this in here, switch to O3 Pro, say I want to migrate this whole system to event-driven watermill Golang using the Golang pub/sub. I especially want to simplify dealing with multi-clients simulating a single device for controlling multiple devices. Design an elegant event-driven architecture. And this is going to cook for like a couple of minutes. I hate this. Like, you're gonna break on me today? This is AGI has been reached, people. So it's gonna do this, but often it like works on the second one. Okay, it doesn't work. What the heck? Maybe if I repaste it. See, I knew it. So I don't know much about O3 Pro. I've been using O3 quite a bit, but this seems like something where a lot of reasoning might make sense. So, see, it created a second copy, which I kind of don't want. So maybe I'll clean up afterwards. I'm just gonna let it like slide on this one. Let's go back to planning. So this is in so this we deleted, right? Add glaze to the mix. This is in progress, right? This, I don't know. Delete simulator. I probably. Use Go channel. So this is like in planning progress, right? So this is in progress. Use Oracle or O3. And then removes the need for channel shenanigans. So the next one is like make WebSocket stuff work for the TUI, for the web UI. And then removing the find stuff, fix the WebSocket stuff. This is the same thing. Prototype some UI ideas for the final product. I don't feel that I have a good understanding yet for all of that. So make a REPL for testing. This is going to be fun. It's like make a suggestion for all kinds of verbs useful for the REPL based on the functionality of PPA control. And I'm going to use Sonnet because I want to actually have like the over-eagerness of Sonnet to do that kind of stuff. And then maybe I'll point it towards the doc as well. And see this guy here. So I think it's going to like look at the directory structure, look at some of the markdown documents, and then just like try to come up with stuff. Because what I do have in my Boba Tea system is I have a widget to do REPLs, and I want to use it more. I also have a thing to do a command palette. So I thought if I'm interacting with this thing, I like terminal UIs quite a bit. So I kind of want to have my REPL. And I think the REPL is already event driven, like it's Charm Bracelet, which is like an Elm kind of like functional event stream, like reactive UI pattern. So events do work kind of well because you can inject like messages basically. And then just to show you what the REPL looks like, if I go into Boba Tea and I run the REPL, no, that's the text area. What command do I have here? There's no REPL demo? Wait, what? Package REPL demo. There should be a demo for the REPL. Oh, it's examples REPL. Man, this is such a shitty event-driven system over here. All right, so O3 Pro came back. We're going to look at that. I'm just going to show you the REPL thing. So 5 plus 3. So you have that, and then you have help. You have different commands. You can open an external editor, which actually kind of doesn't work because it's trying to render two things at once. I think that's some like terminal UI stuff that I don't fully understand. With like PTY modes, that's something I need to fix. Why does it not? I thought I had like a clean REPL demo. Go run, where you could choose all the different things. All right, go run examples REPL, and the one I really like is the custom theme. So you can do help, and then you can do like the list of themes, and then you can do themes monochrome, and then you can do themes rainbow. You can do a quick theme sketch. Like, I don't know. It's just funny to have models design example programs for your framework. Is just like really fun. So anyway, we have this widget. We're going to use that. However, we do have our analysis for an event-driven system. This is me experimenting. I like having commands. I like having these kinds of events. I think we should have response events, a very small contract, high-level component map, device command router, one per device, device event router. Okay. It stops the diagram down here. Discovery service, events discovery, device gateway, commands device.id. This is cryptic. I don't know what this means. I don't think I want event handlers to do the UDP part. I think I want to. Oh, maybe I want to. Yeah, because there's no response per se, right, from the device, because it's UDP. So I'm gonna add, like, what about request response? We do get response UDP packets that we can map to the input, right? All right, this I should have. I wonder why it's calling go. We'll see. So we have like a couple of things cooking, right? Here's a verb suggestion for the REPL. I don't know how much I want to keep of, like how much I want to focus on the REPL right away. I think the command line verbs are maybe good enough. This is more brainstorming. But I kind of want that. I kind of like that. Maybe I actually want to... Yeah, see how Sonnet just like... It's like tweaking on math. It's like MQTT, so if you just let it here, it will start implementing MQTT, and you're like, no, bruh, like don't do that. Stop here. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do that. This is like too early. Oh man, and this guy does this. All right, let's let it reason. This is still building. The simulate command, see, I really don't like it. And now it has like created all these additional verbs. So we're going to do a pass where we just clean it up. Maybe I'll clean it up in Golang, to be honest. It's nice to clean stuff up in Golang. It's just like faster. So that is manual labor, right? Oh shit, it's already 4. So now it has like a test. See, this is how the slop accumulates. And I'm really curious why it's struggling so much with something that I thought it wouldn't struggle with. There's something that I might be missing here. Oh, test is just because I asked it to compare it to the old one, right? But this is how slop accumulates, right? It's like it created a new file for each of the verbs and it called it glaze, which, you know, is maybe not the worst thing. But then there's a very real danger that it doesn't delete the old files, and then every further refactor will try to refactor both like the old thing that needs to be gone anyway, and then the new thing, and it just like is something I'm pretty sure O3 will be able to catch, right? So that's something I'm going to experiment with. Once this is finished, I will tell like, oh, use the Oracle to review and remove everything that has been duplicated. Because otherwise, just like going to end up with all the previous files plus this stuff, and that's just gonna be like not good. What is PPA CLI? Did I add this previously? So remove cached, and then git log stat. Did I add this in the previous commit? Okay. So gonna remove ppy CLI, and then we're going to, am I going to rebase interactive? I'll do that later on. I should have done a mend. I'm stupid. All right. Wonder what it's. I think it's the simulate is giving it grief. I wish on the command line I had a little bit more visibility into the sub agents. I always have to like go through the web UI currently. The UI of Amcode is kind of shit. Port simulate command. What is it struggling with here? What is it doing? There's a conflict with the port flag. Oh, so this is, yeah, I know. I knew this would happen, where it has like conflicts with parameter names. And I think the simulate command is like especially prone to it because it will like emulate a device that speaks to other devices. So deleting things up front will of course also make the refactor easier. So I should have maybe killed the simulate functionality. I should have done that up front, to be honest. But you can tell how just like purely iterative while running it through a deterministic needle point, right? Or like needle eye or whatever you want to call it, causes it to actually like kind of be able to fix things as it goes because it's just like so much pattern matching. So I'm not really happy with how this is going. I think this was pretty painful for something I thought would be less painful. live and learn. And also it's like, it's really something that's like 3 years old. And because it's actually, I think there's like inconsistency between the individual command line verbs as well, because I did write them manually. Thus, the chance of inconsistency is actually higher. Thus, it's harder to refactor because the intelligence, whatever you want to call it, the intelligence needed to figure out what the right thing to do is in many different situations makes it harder for it to like repeat, copy, paste the stuff that it did before. And that, that's why it's like that why I really prefer LLM generated code usually. It's just like more consistent. It's just like once you know what is going on, you can like apply it to the whole code base. So I managed to finish the simulate, right? It failed in a unit test, which is like the UI tests. Yeah, see the UI test I should also have deleted up front, because I think the UI test is also something that I don't want to keep. So I'm just going to remove it while we're at it. I don't think we need to keep any compatibility there. I don't think there's anything useful in there for us to keep. All right. So what is the event-driven thing done here? Yes, request response is fully preserved. In the PPA protocol, every outbound UDP frame already carries a 16-bit sequence number, so that any component that can match replies to, so send ping, publish, I wonder if, so this is obviously something that I would design out on paper, which I'm not doing right now. I wonder if I should do this today or if I should move. I'm going to move into the web UI just to get something visible going. But this is something I really, really want to do because it will allow me to match the patterns that I'm using in other tools, and what do I want to say? And just it is more amenable to LLM programming at the end of the day. The reason it's more amenable for LLM programming is that if you give an LLM this, and that being the only thing it can do is like receive and send events, it is really hard for the LLM to do something harmful or to like block something. And also these names are really useful. Like if you do, when the device discovered event comes in, then send out a device lost if it matches this rule. That is already encoded in the API. You know what I mean? Like instead of like littering it all with like words like channel and manager and whatever, doing these like very simple kind of event handlers with names for the input and the output makes it very LLM amenable overall. And also you have like nice logs, you can replay events, like there's all kinds of nice things you can do because then we feed them back to the model. And if the model has a state machine, right, like that's the downside of the complexity of an event driven thing, is that you have to have sagas or state machines or like somehow manage to do your like distributed system state. It's able, based on logs and the description of a state machine, to be pretty well at like the reasoning part of it. And I always like putting quotes around the reasoning because it's an easily misunderstood word, but it's like it's able to better pattern match like logical stuff. So I think we're nearing the end of our refactor to be doing glazed. I hope that this time it like latched on correctly. And then we'll run O3 on top of it and then tell it to clean up just because I want to do an experiment based on this, right? See if I can like kind of, if not fully automated, at least have like a very minimal prompt that allows me to be like, yeah, I did like some boo-boo, but I can just ask O3, please clean up, and stay in this like pretty vibey mode where I can look at the name of the files and be like, I think I know what happened. Please clean up, and trust it to do just that. I think the complexity of why it had such a struggle here. I don't know. I'm gonna ask O3 why did you struggle so bad? And actually, so one thing you can do is if we look at one of the logs of something where it struggled, right? This dude here, you can copy paste this, and we're going to go use not O3 Pro, we're going to use O3. Why did this coding agent struggle so much to get this refactored? Because this will teach us something, right? Like, imagine we did a compiler run, compiler told us like, nope, there's something wrong. We went back, refined our prompt, tried again. This time it worked, but it was very slow. The performance was kind of crap. So we're taking our, compiler log or whatever we want to say, and I pasted it. I'm like, okay, now I want to understand why this resulting binary was so slow. Because we're doing like binary as in the equivalent in this analogy, if the LLM is kind of like a compiler, the binary in our case is the source code, right? It's like that's the result of running the compiler. And so if the binary is slow, does that make sense? Man, this analogy confuses me. Anyway, the way I like thinking about the vibe coding, right? Because it can be pretty frustrating depending on how you approach it. And I think that's also something that, that I struggled with for quite a bit. Is like, it feels like playing the roulette, playing a slot machine, right? It's like, oh, I want to get like a web UI going. And then I prompt the LLM and I get like a bad UI. So I prompt it again and I get a bad UI. And I prompt it again and I'm like, I don't know how, if it's luck, if my prompt is bad. I don't know what's going on. Let's try again. And then you get just super frustrating because you've just done like wading through slop and then, playing the slot machine again. And then you like just kind of have a very frustrating day. And then the next day you play the slot machine and you immediately win the jackpot and you're like, oh, this is so freaking cool. And it gives you this like it really is an addicting kind of gambling way of seeing at things. And to get away from it, so for a while, the Gemini Pro thought traces were not censored. Those were really, really cool because it looked like it was like looking over the shoulder of a really like kind of senior, conscientious, knows the code base really well, kind of pair programmer. Not that it was correct, but you could like see their thinking process. And so while I was like gambling, right, like when the little wheels were like spinning of my slot machine, actually those spinning wheels taught me a lot about not just the code base, but like patterns that I might not have known, noticing things that I didn't think of. Like it was just like really entertaining. And then they censored the traces and it was like a really good colleague just like got fired. But the way I approach it now is like this is the compiler analogy, is like when I write code and I run the compiler and it tells me syntax error, I'm not like, oh man, I don't know why I did a syntax error. Now I have to like type the whole file again. And like maybe this time it won't happen. I'll actually be like, okay, why is it a syntax error? Like, what could have caused it? And it doesn't mean that I'll know the internals of the compiler, right? Like the compiler is kind of like a black box. Even the language spec is kind of a black box, but I can still kind of reason about why might this have happened? Like LLMs are not completely random, obviously, right? You can have a mental model of an LLM. That's like good enough. To kind of understand, oh, maybe I should have like removed this file, or like maybe it got like distracted by this thing, or like maybe this model just like seems to really struggle making these kinds of leaps. So when I get to a result that's bad, where I'm like, or that's like semi bad, right? Like this one where I'm like, why does it struggle so much? I do actually consider this as like, okay, well, this is your opportunity to learn. Because if it worked immediately, I wouldn't learn anything. This is my opportunity to learn not only about how LLMs work, but why in my plans, why in the existing code base, which patterns of code. Like I am really a software engineer. I'm like, the prompt has importance, the current structure of the code has importance, my understanding of the agent loop or of the LLM is important. Maybe the agent didn't have like the right tool to test things. Maybe I shouldn't have named my parameters port and port and port and port. Like all of these things play a role into why was this slow. Um, and so that makes all the difference for me where if one day I one shot my feature for the day, I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe I should have been more ambitious, or I'll just be like, okay, well, maybe I don't have other features to build because you can't build too many features either. Maybe I'll spend the time to document the code base or like verify that the documentation works, or maybe try some experiments on the side, right? And then the days where it doesn't work, I will I will be learning. I will be like actually actively engaging my brain to uh, understand what I'm doing, why it's like a very traditional like engineering friction that you have, right? So interestingly, it's like deleting the libglaze commands, which I told it to delete. Um, and now that we have this, I'm gonna see how much it cleans up after that. Like, is it going to rename the files? Hmm. I've never seen it do a git commit before. All right, well, if you want, I'll roll with it. And then it updates the final git commit just after it committed. That's funny. This must be like a new thing in AMP. All right, anyway, so it didn't clean up. Maybe it'll still will, but I think this is it being over now. Um, so, so I hope that the way I phrased it, like to me, it was like really important to have this insight of like, okay, well, even if the LLM doesn't do what I want, my day is going to be structured and I will have a semblance of like non-frustrating brain friction as I go. And I will also have the enjoyment of feeling like an engineer, right? Like that even errors are actually making me grow and not just like, flipping a coin and being like, oh man, it's tails again. And I'll be like, um, and so that's why I do a lot of experiments, right? It's like if everything that I do one shots and I don't learn anything about my tools or my code base, that means I wasn't ambitious enough. That's why I'm trying to do these like one shot refactors and all of that, because in the worst case, I will have learned something about patterns that don't work, like why maybe the existing code base was like not great. Um, so while I'm yapping, actually make this use the Oracle to review the duplications we now have. I don't need the legacy commands. However, I want to make sure all functionality is preserved. But actually, first I'm going to remove the simulate, I think. However, first remove the simulate functionality and a sub-agent, then do the review. So yeah, this is kind of like strategic thinking, right? But I'm staying in a vibe mode. Like I'm not going in and being like, oh, what is the underscore device ID? Where is it used? Like using my IDE and all of that. I'm just like staying at this like kind of, okay, well, you, my little minion, go review this. Then I'll look at the reviews, see if it like resonates. I'm gonna be like, okay, you just go like test the old command line and the new command line, and you tell me if they match and which functionality might be missing. So all of that functionality, all of that work is kind of strategic, and I really like that. I know that probably some developers don't like this kind of like high level strategic thinking and like are or like they like the engineering puzzles aspects of it. I never have, and I kind of suck at these engineering puzzles. Um, but I like the like big picture system kind of thinking. How does the code base evolve over time? Like how which patterns make more sense than others? Um, this is such a weird ass rename here. Oh, because the fuck? All right, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna trust it for now. All right, so the remove simulate finished. So we see that the command simulate was removed, but also remove simulate glazed. Also remove simulate glazed. All and potentially lib functionality that is then unused. And here I think overall the work that we did so far, if we compare this to origin main, git diff stat head origin main. No, what the heck? Git diff stat git fetch origin. Oh wait, where am I? Oh, okay. Git diff stat Wesen main. Oh, because we haven't removed the old verbs yet. Then we have a bunch of ttemp, that's fine. But test web MIDI, okay. So now it's removing the entire simulation package, cool. So and this thing will like take care of compiling, making sure that these things are in fact deprecated, like all kinds of, it's fine that a pattern matcher does that, right? Like I don't miss that part of my brain. And one thing that's nice is I'm actually pretty good at like not checking social media while the agent is running. I'll just like stare into the distance and just like think about the purpose of what I'm doing, which is something that if I'm deep in the code, I will just like not do, right? Like I'll be like 5 hours into the rabbit hole. Here I'm just like, could we use a XYZ, right? Like, oh, maybe how could I orchestrate the testing? And those are really valuable to me. Or what I'll often do is just have a sketchbook and like sketch while this is going on. And that's why I'm like so bullish on this like name of vibe coding. It doesn't mean that all you do is vibe coding. Obviously, there's a lot of like detailed work that has been going on here as well. But it's a new modality of writing software, which is I can write software or I can create software, whatever you want to call this, um, while staring into space, like while daydreaming, or like while doing strategic things, or like while talking to people, right? Like you can sit at a coffee shop with someone who's non-technical that you're building like a UI for, and just basically sketch out UIs. It doesn't mean that the UI then is going to be used in the final product, but it is used as software for communication. And maybe all that's taken out of that is a screenshot, or maybe just like the value of the conversation where people tell me like, no, this looks like garbage. I don't want this, or oh, I really like this. Like, can you add this feature? That stuff that was like so expensive before, like I would never, doing an iteration like that for a friend, I would just be like, oh, it is going to take me like 2 weekends. I can't. But now we can meet for coffee. I'll just be like, hey, Cloud Code, like, let's go, let's go brainstorm. Is like make a very minimal, stylish, and monochrome application to choose presets plus volume for master channel plus mute button for a DSP for a remote control for a studio monitor system. And I can be like, okay, well, cool. Let's look. maybe we'll do a sketch on paper and then put it in. Maybe we'll take a sketch out of this idea, iterate a little bit with markers or whatever, and then we'll be like, yeah, maybe it'd be cool if this and this moves. Put it back, say like, can you add a transition to X, Y, Z? At the same time, I can like start sketching an API next to it, right? Like do my own notes while this person is like brainstorming. Like there's just like a lot of things that you can do. That then, however, is what's going on here? It's like everything I'm showing today just doesn't work. Come on, render it. Is it like, that's weird. This looks pretty good, huh? That's what I mean by like code that looks good but maybe doesn't make any sense. But I think this is actually a bug on their side, I would presume. Let's try this again. I think it's a bug on their side because this React looks pretty decent. Like it doesn't do anything that looks like a loop, does it? It has 3 use states. And then they all target something different. Yeah, I don't see any problems with this at first. I could be wrong. I don't want to get into it. I think it's a bug on their side, like their React backend. They like their software is so, for all the talking that they do about like, oh, everything's like written by AI. It's like, yeah, but it's kind of crap. It's like the thing that's my favorite, but like now it doesn't even work with the React, but this way of like managing your chats, like this is literally all you can do to manage your chats. You can like make folders, but then you can not move existing ones into your folders. This is so bad. And you can actually take Claude AI and say like, make me a good interface to search Claude AI and like paste that in, and it does like a pretty good job. Yeah, I guess what I wanted to show today is not working. So what we can do, however, is like we can do this self-contained HTML file with the CSS and JS. So we can do a self-contained thing. That's another really nice thing that I like about LLMs, is that the more local, the less internet connected, the less database connected, the less like authentication, all of these things, the less you have that, and you're able to build applications that are, what I really like as a target is like HTML self-contained plus local storage plus export to clipboard or to CSV. So like a single HTML file that I can share to my friends. They can open it on their iPhone or whatever, and it's fully local, and it's enough for like a ton of applications. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with their HTML rendering. I don't know. But you can do this, right? Move CSS and JavaScript into their own panels. Sure, why not? So, I mean, this is pretty amazing. Like, I think this is actually kind of what I want to keep. The muted symbol is like a little bit weird, but I kind of like this a lot. I think this looks nice. This is just amazing to me. Like, this is something I would have never dreamed of being able to do. And now it's like, oh, it's at least pleasant enough that I'm having fun building with it, and that my customer, my buddy, has a sense of what's going to happen, right? And it could tell me like, I kind of want to have a drop down. Like maybe the names are going to be too long and they won't fit in here. Like, can you make it like 4x4? Those kinds of things. Or like maybe make it a list that you can scroll, but at the bottom. Yeah, I like this actually. I like this quite a bit. I'm gonna actually save it in the code base. So we're here, and then I'm gonna create a new file. And then I'm gonna say minimal UI.html. And just keep it in there. What was the other stuff that I wanted to keep? The other kind of stuff that I wanted to keep is the event-driven thing, just as an idea. So I'm going to say new file O3 Pro brainstorming event-driven interface.md. So because they're in the ttemp directory, it's like clear that they're like kind of randomy stuff that might or might not have value. And I do want to design a system to make this a little bit more systematic, but I haven't been there. So usually I put the link at the top of the session that led to this. Yeah, I mean, this to me is life-changing. This is world-changing in terms of the software you can build, and it makes the most sense, I think, for like local community-based software. It's sitting down with someone and being able to show that to them and being like, is this what you like? Yeah, I can make it for you because you told me, and maybe you even prompted it. And when you prompted it and it came out with HTML that works, then you are actually the software engineer, right? Like suddenly it gives non-technical people a lot of agency over building software that was just like absolutely impossible before. It doesn't mean that I'll use the HTML here, right? Like, because this is, I mean, as far as like self-contained HTML, it's like there's a reason frameworks exist. It can be good, it can be bad, right? Like there's a reason why sometimes a single HTML page makes sense. There's sometimes reason that it doesn't make sense. How do I view the HTML? Like, how do I go back to the actual code? Does someone know? How do I go back? Yeah, but where is the code? How do I stop it? Change panel layouts, classic. Okay. Okay, there we go. Not bad. Not super maintainable, right? But sure, why not? Self-contained, no framework, no nothing. If I want to add a framework, that's something that's eminently pattern matchable, right? All right, let's go back to our agent. It's still like running, and also the thing that we had is like an analysis of why the agent was struggling. So glazed parameter layer helpers expect very specific naming conventions. The first draft tried to poke values out of parsed layers manually. So this is something I often have, and I really wonder if it read the tutorials, man. Because this is so clear in the tutorials. This is weird. But maybe those, I'm sure it used like parsed layers get value or stuff like that, which maybe I should just implement at this point. It keeps doing that error over and over. The UDP broadcast command and other standard layers already orange short flags A, P. This created two cascaded panics, first on A, then on P. I think it should have just used a shared layer, but we're deleting that verb. So this was definitely one thing that I should have said is like use the shared layer after extracting it. Unit gate, no, that doesn't make sense. Chunk paste of rebold lay. Document glaze conventions. Yeah, this is weird. This is in the document, so I'm wondering what AMP is doing here when it delegates stuff to sub-agents, because it didn't run into these issues with the first two, right? It only when it started using sub-agents. Interesting. Actually, let me flag that to. Actually, let's go verify that it did cleanly. Do the first one is correct or not? Ping glazed command. See, I should have maybe. Yeah, see, it didn't read the documentation. Like, what did it do? What did it do here? So it created a first ping. This one was already wrong. And then it did the new standard layer. So maybe something in the layer documentation is wrong or was too distracting. Because I told it to look at the command reference, right? and look at the current ping.go. So it looked at the command reference, and this command reference I think clearly shows how to use a settings struct. Oh no, it doesn't. Maybe that got lost in my refactor. Or maybe it was never there in the first case. Yeah, because it has an initialize struct. Initialize struct. And then it has the cleanup settings. And the cleanup settings are not mentioned in here. That's why. Okay, that's actually pretty important. Right? Because actually glaze help commands reference. And initialize struct, and yeah, it didn't define the cleanup settings. So this is actually a pretty important one to address. So I'm going to address it immediately. Address initialize struct, and because otherwise I'm going to forget and I'll keep repeating this. So we're gonna start amp and we're gonna say update commands reference to clearly showcase the settings, structs, and the syntax used to populate with initialize struct. Currently the tutorial is too terse and leads users following it to miss how to parse, how to use parsed layers. Also show how layer specific settings are used in a similar manner in layers guide.md. All right. So this is fixing compatibility issue, removing legacy commands, fix commands. What is fix commands doing? Fix. Where is fix commands? Fix commands. So it's setting stuff. This is pretty cool. Where it's just like, okay, cool. It's like building its own refactoring tools basically, which is pretty nice. This is why Golang is sometimes nice, because this is hard to do when you move Go packages around. So like Go package refactoring is another way to really kill a refactor. Is like once it introduces a circular dependency, it will try to clear up the circular dependency and usually do it the wrong way, and then it will create other circular dependencies and will just like kind of nuke itself. And at some point it's going to be like, fuck this, let's delete the entire types folder and recreate it, and then it's game over. So these kinds of package movings, they're basically a drag and drop in Golang that takes like 2 seconds. That's something to be aware of. And that's something that I put into my agentMD, although it doesn't really catch all that often, where I'm saying like, if you need to rename or move a package, then tell me and I'll do it for you, right? So I'm like putting myself in the loop as a tool, which is actually a pretty cool idea to add. If you have a tool called human intervention that like sends you an SMS, that could be pretty cool actually. So. What the fuck? Man, these... I mean, I'm sure they have load issues, but like, god damn. What did I want to do? How can I deliver iPhone, iOS notifications from my server programmatically in Golang gang if possible? All right, so I removed the legacy commands. If we look at the git status, oh, it committed again. That's so funny. Now it's like primed to commit by itself, which I don't mind. So it did remove all of this. It moved the things around. It removed the simulation. It committed the PPA CLI again. That's where it came from. So I'm going to say like, in the future, don't commit PPA CLI. I deleted it for you. PPA CLI. All right. What's the next step? We're at 54%. Make a document about all the CLI commands. Also update the README in a terser fashion. And then write a QA guide.md and ttemp. That will help me validate all of your work. So because now I'm like, oh, do I trust that it worked? No, I don't. Like, I do need to verify it by myself before I start like now building upon it. Because the next step is going to be, well, I guess to use our HTML and just like actually make it work, right? So while it's building this Q&A guide, I could actually start a new agent to build a web UI and a little server. But I kind of want to, I mean, it should be fairly easy to do programmatically and like not change anything. So, because this is just writing a guide, right? So what the heck is test web MIDI? Yeah, this is not a bad idea. I have to go to the bathroom again. That's me and Red Bull. All right, and also I'll show. Yeah, Graham, how is that? It's pretty mind blowing, isn't it? It is. You know, one thing I wonder. So I've been using these things since Copilot Alpha, like the tab completion thing, and then a little bit with GPT-3 DaVinci, but then especially when ChatGPT came out, right? And like along the way, I've had like many times where I was just like, holy shit, like what is happening to my job, to my identity as an engineer? And that's why I find it so frustrating to be, right, like, because politically I'm pretty far left, but then Blue Sky and Mastodon are like so hostile to AI that even just saying like, you guys need to take a closer look at this stuff because it has very concrete implications on labor. But also it's like a very kind of empowering tool, right? It's like, I think the software that works the best with LLMs is this kind of like on-demand, human-centered, little personal local software, right? Like that's the thing that works the best. And that's like eminently useful software. It's like, I want every person that has, you know, a piece of silicon in their hand to be able to use that piece of silicon to do the things that they want to do. And we developers have been able to do that, if painfully. But I want everybody to be able to do that. I want everybody to be able to use these incredible little pieces of whatever they can do to make their their life better. And like, I want friends to be able to do that. And like now I am, my friends are able to do that, you know, or like at least we're able to now build software together without it killing my weekend, right? And that's why I find it so frustrating to be like, oh, this is all garbage and it just does like code and code quality will go down. It's like, I hope this shows that code quality actually goes up significantly if you use it. This is, I've removed a ton of legacy. I've got like better documentation now. I've adapted it to a framework that exists. I've been talking to you guys all the time, right? Like I'm not tired or anything. I'm just like having fun. Even though this is like eminently boring shit, right? Like this is, if I had to do this in the before times, I'd be like, oh man, I really have to convert every CLI command to this new framework. What is the parameter for string again? I don't remember. Do I have to test this? Like it'd just be like tedious. I love the result. I love the fact of being able to do it, but the work itself is just like, ugh. And in fact, if LLMs were to go away, I'm like done with software. I'm like, I'm out. I'm gonna go like herd goats, and then from time to time I'll open like a Lisp interpreter as like a little Sudoku kind of thing. But I'm done with software, professional software development. I'm not writing this stuff by hand anymore. All right. Anyway, we do have a Q&A guide, so we'll be able to do that. And let me commit those things. So we're gonna say like, oh, art add QA guide. We're starting to see a little bit of slop happening here. It's like, what is doc CLI commands? I'm not sure. Do I want to have it in doc? Do I want this to be uppercase? Like, not really, but I'm also not going to bother right now. So this updated the documentation. I'll look at that later on. Like, this is my own little thing here, but it it's weird because I gave it the layers guide as well. But yeah, this is my stuff to do. All right, so what does this Q&A guide look like? Because now I show something really, really fucking mind-blowing. And it's going to blow my mind as well. So we have ping, volume, recall, UDP, broadcast. Is that all we have? I think that's all we have. That's actually all the functionality we want, right? Legacy compatibility tests, component ID, the modern component ID. Okay. It kept legacy compatibility, man. I hate this. It's so hard to work against it. I hate it so much. New standard layers. PPA parameter layer. I hate it so much. But anyway, I'm not going to worry too much. So what I'm going to do is do I want to run this by hand or do I want to give it to an agent? I'm going to run this by hand in Cursor so that I can do like a step-by-step. Run through this step-by-step so I can validate. So just to make sure before I go in too far, But once I validate that these commands like actually work and communicate with the device, then I'll show you the pretty cool stuff that's going to come. That one really is in this context, right, where I have like a hardware device. See, this is cursor just doesn't know in which directory it is. It's like fascinatingly shit. I don't I don't know, man. It's like every time you waste a tool call on that, and then that's another way of really derailing models is when they think they're in the wrong directory, they'll just recreate your entire code base as a ghost in a different directory. And it's like AGI is going to be reached when they're able to understand the concept of current work directory. Oh, I didn't even hear that there was like a buzzer sound going on. What the heck? I don't know what it is actually. There's a buzzer sound going on this computer. What might it be? I muted. Actually, I shouldn't do this in LLM Unix. I should do this in an agent as well. Buzzer sound. All right, we're going to ping. What's happening here? So, oh, I'm going to say there's a real device on 01680200. So hopefully this is going to ping. Like if I broke it, no non-glaze run method implemented. Oh, I think I might have broken quite a few things here. Why is it? Oh my God. I wonder how much of this was broken before. No, but like, there's no device on 127.0.0.1. This error server of the device, I had that before, and I wonder, because I tested all of this code last in Berlin, and I should have tested it more explicitly before I started all of this. So it could be that all of this like already is like completely broken. So what we're gonna do is maybe go back to the branch we started on, just on main, and just actually verify once more that this actually works. Before I start like thinking I broke something or so. I wonder what this beep is though. Maybe look who is using pulse audio pipewire. Oh, it's doing that, right? I should have tested this a little bit more before I went in. Because I know I saw the like packet error, but even these things, I'm not sure if they're like actually due to me changing the flags or not. I don't think they're due to me. They're this like multi-client kind of thing. Like this is not code we touched. It's this multi-device thing. It's still trying to do the, it's not the PC speaker. It's the normal audio device. That is interesting. Real world problems. So what might we want to do? So we are in PPA control. We do have just a modified README. And then in our logs, we have, at this point, this is, we still have like the old code, right? When we go back here. So this is when we removed the existing code over there. So I am going to check out this. I'm going to keep all these analysis and like to-dos and readmes and whatever. And I'm going to start a new M code. Actually, I'm going to start it in the parent. I want to make sure all our PPA, CLI verbs properly work. There's a device on 192.168.0.200. Try different things to see how well it works. And actually, this is a good point to start what I actually wanted to do. The other thing, which is, at least I know the Windows software works, right? And something happened. Either I broke the software and we started like on a broken software. It's totally possible because I don't remember where I stopped. It's overcomplicated because it has a simulator. It has like all things that I built actually by hand that are like orthogonal to each other, building upon of like, so I don't think we broke anything with the vibe code. I think it was just like broken to start with. Firefox is playing audio. Oh, it's the JS fiddle. Why is it playing audio? Okay, well, at least I learned something about PA control. So one thing you can do, actually, that's really useful. So, right, like I used an agent to do stuff that I could have Googled and all of that. And did I learn much or not? Is like write a full guide explaining what you did, how to debug this in the future, along with any technical information that you find interesting that will teach me more about the topic. So this is something I love doing, which is if there's something that I use an agent to do and I want to like leverage the fact that I spent some compute on this, I will write a document for me to just like print out or like file somewhere or read. That, and usually those are very nice to read. They're like kind of very clean. So we can, however, like continue checking this here to see what happens. And you've seen like the difference in quality between M code and cursor. Cursor really slows you down by doing this like wrong directory. Like that's enough to really turn an LLM experience from like looping hellhole to something pretty pleasant where you're like vibing, right? So we'll see. So this created audio buzzer debugging guide, right? And now I have like a nice little audio debugging. What was the buzzer sound? Audio buzzer debugging guide. And you're experiencing a persistent buzzing, not the PC speaker monitor. And then in our case, Firefox was the culprit. It had 3 active audio streams playing through Pipewire. Notification mode. So probably GS Fiddle was just sending a lot of notifications. That's really funny. Systematic debugging approach. You kind of learn about these things here. Check your obvious culprit. I don't know why it would do that. Examine system logs. hardware verifications, Linux audio architecture, Pipewire. It's a modern, yeah. So just teach me a lot of little things, and I will put this into my Obsidian Vault because then I can grab it. So sometimes I'll just like grab stuff around. So this goes into Codebase and Obsidian Vault inbox, and that's it. We learned something, at least enough to just put it into a TIL. What tool is it running? Is it just like blocking on a tool? So that happens as well sometimes, where I'll just like run a blocking tool and not realize it's blocking and then just hang. Yeah, so this is call with timeout because ping is blocking. And this time I'm going to start a second AMP code. And then I want to actually, I'm going to wait. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the agent, like, use TCP dump or whatever to record a PCAP file of me communicating with the Windows UI and decode it and match it to the code that we have, see which, right, like just like start analyzing things and making sure that things work. The interesting thing here is like this seems to be working better than before, than our refactored verbs. So I'm still annoyed by this refactoring going wrong so easily by the glaze stuff. I thought it would be like an easy pattern match. It doesn't look like that. And to remind you, this is something I wrote before I started doing my glazed framework. And the reason I built the glazed framework is to exactly make that kind of stuff easier to deal with. Sets volume levels, discovers network interfaces, and sends volume commands. If we look at the diff, like nothing in lib really changed, except we removed the simulation client. So I'm really kind of curious to know what changed here, right? So I'm going to say use git diff and investigate why our actually, I'm going to do stash. I'm going to say I updated all the verbs and CLI tool to their new version. Let's try to repeat the same tests to see what we might have broken. Look at, so do we have a README? We have CLI commands, right? So what is CLI commands? Yeah, look at CLI commands for the updates. After testing and looking at the diff between, so what was the diff between this and write a report on if things might still work or why not. I don't know. It's like some bad prompting. This is a situation that I haven't really run into yet of like struggling so much to adapt stuff to glazed. Because all of this glazed stuff, I would write stuff in Cobra and I would say like, please make glazed, and then it would work. Here it seems to struggle quite a bit because I think I might have been already a little bit clever in how I did flags before I started doing this. Or maybe it's either a bad day because it's Sunday, or maybe just because it initializes the clients not correctly. So we'll see. Like I think this is going to be able to debug it. Anything else that might be interesting? So here I brainstormed, how can I deliver iPhone iOS notifications from my server programmatically? Because one thing I would like to do is an MCP server that actually sends a push notification. App ID, Apple site setup. Install a Go APNS setup. So do I need to build an iOS app? Happens on my server. All right, so critical issues found. Let's see. This went fast. The CLI introduced significant breaking changes while migrating to the glazed framework. Most commands are now non-functional due to incomplete implementation. Non-glazed run method implemented. See, this is because I created new files and it like didn't copy over all the stuff. So, and also this like double structured output, like it kind of got misled by that. Has no run method for non-glazed things. Create duplicates client. Okay, fix it all. Don't revert. Let's see. So this was. I have to think. So this dual run stuff is something I introduced yesterday, and I prompted it to use it, and I'm not sure that was like the best idea in the world. And then because it was too much complexity to edit the current CLI verbs, it like created its copy, and then often it forgets to copy all the functionality. Like this is something I've already observed. That's why I was like a pretty skeptical of the whole thing. But let's see. Like usually asking it to fix things in this case works. If you want a banner-style iOS push that appears in notification centers, somebody's APN-enabled app must be installed on the phone. That can be your ultra-minimal app, or you can piggyback on an existing app that exposes a webhook API. Telegram stack push over. What about text messages? So this is also like a use case of just brainstorming with code, and it does like more advanced searches, which is nice because it doesn't make me like read a bunch of Stack Overflows or weirdly formatted blog results. It like kind of goes to the source. So if like sites have good documentation, that's usually what I will go for. And then if I do some more advanced research, that also helps. But often I will also like get stuff out of its own training corpus. Oh, I said test message, not text message. Here you can see how important it is to use the right words. Some typos are okay, some typos are not. All right, the volume seems better. Oh, I like the SNS SMS. So, Interesting. I'm just going to build like a little command line tool to send an SMS over SNS. Curious to see if that make dir command experiments send SMS, and then oh man, I don't even remember how to get environment variables. Another time. I don't want to show my phone number on screen. What are we doing? So now the commands work. All legacy flags work. Ping, ping, working, working, working. So what did it have to fix? Volume settings. Lib command context. Oh, so it like missed something in the command context. Fun. See, this command context multi-client stuff, bad architecture, man. That's where the event-driven stuff is going to be better. It's so easy to get it wrong, and like some stuff just doesn't make sense. That's kind of the problem with like human written code. It's like it is inconsistent and it requires out-of-band knowledge often. So anyway, we're going to commit this ambulance fix command line verbs. And so what we're going to do now, we're going to start two things, right? We're going to start a new one. And then we're going to do, there's already a web server in here, right? What did I do here? Oh, shit. We do have a web server, right? PPA web. So I kind of don't want to keep that. Or do I? Okay. I'm just going to be saying like make, what is it called? PPA web work with, and so first assess the current state of then use the Oracle to do a final review. So I don't know the state of that web application. The other thing that I'm curious about doing is, and I'm going to start a new M code in this directory, and I'm going to say make a playbook on how to record PCAP files and analyze them to continue reverse engineering and validating the PPA protocol in PCAP main.go and co. Store in PPA control T10 250713. So we have just like two, again, read-only agents doing some analysis for us, which will hopefully help us, write a better web server and then, or fix the current web server, and then also continue analyzing the protocol and expanding our implementation of the protocol. So key issues, the HTTP flusher embedded will cause nil panics, interesting. missing grateful, inconsistent port configuration precedents, unsafe context keys, missing security headers. What about WebSocket and the implementation of PPA protocol, especially with regard to what were the analysis here that we had in TTEM, the documents that we did, code-based structure, GUI implementation, protocol API implementation. Oh, yes, okay. Man, it's fast now. I don't know what's going on. It's surprisingly fast. PCAP recording and analysis playbook for PPA protocol reverse engineering. PPA control software. Build the PCAP, find the amplifier's ID, TCP dump, PPA session host, amplifier IP, and port range 1200, 1300. Okay. Port is 5001. Example IP is create some scripts in ttemp as well. Look at protocol API analysis and the real implementation to flesh out more details. All right, so what about the WebSocket? Based on analysis here, files that contain existing WebSocket implementation or SSE. It's the main file, SSE for device discovery, HTMX integration, buffer channels, prevents blocking. Yeah, the multi-client is like really a problem. This event-driven stuff is like really a problem. Let's forget about multi-client and assume we have a single client at all times. Would this simplify things? One single client and a single device. So still brainstorming, still doing like read-only stuff. Context window pretty low. This is just to prepare like good documents for me to understand the current situation, since it's a code base that, I mean, I'm slowly getting more and more familiar with it again, and realize that there's like some complexity due to just like Baroque coding style. Really, I think the cleanup of the command line tools was good, removing the simulator was good, and moving to an event-driven system is, I think, like kind of necessary at this point, because we are going to run into issues with this multi-client kind of structure and like buffer channels for the WebSocket. All of that will go away with properly modeling it as a distributed system. All right. How long have we been streaming? 3 hours? All right, so implementation straightforward, no sequence number conflicts. Okay, write a spec document and refactoring step by step. Use the Oracle to keep it tight. No backwards compatibility. try to simplify everything. Store in ttemp. Oops. All right, this is creating probably way too Baroque shell scripts because it's Sonnet. Do I have PDFs in there? Yeah. I wonder if Amcode knows how to read PDFs. This is crazy Sonnet stuff, right? Like it will write like 100 lines shell scripts, which is nice sometimes, but sometimes it's just too much. And I think in this case, it's just like way too much. Where is it creating those? PCAP, analyze PCAP, quick capture, captures. So it's nice because it does like all of these little features here. Building PCAP tool. Okay, starting capture, sudo pcpdump, timeout, duration. Duration is set to 30 seconds. Starting capture, perform your operations now. Then it's going to analyze that. All right, well, we'll run this. We'll see what happens. It's like protocol fuzzer. What are you talking about? Although that is kind of useful, right? Like this is actually what I wanted to do is like, I know the firmware of the device is pretty brittle. And once I have this like PCAP TCP dump loop going, I wanted to basically fuck with the device until I really understand, oh, if you send these two things too quickly, that happens. If you do this, then that happens. There might be an issue that I will have to hard reset it. So if that's the case, I'm going to connect one of my like Zigbee controlled what's the name? God damn it. Zigbee controlled power plugs to be able to hard reset the device. So actually that's something else to check. I have a thread-free IKEA Zigbee base station. I want to turn my Zigbee no-name plug on and off. How can I do that from Linux? Because I set up like HA, like home automation, a while ago, and I totally forgot how it works. So testing script without sudo expected to fail at TCP dump stage. But quick capture does do the sudo, right? The refactoring specification for ttemp is there. Do I want to test the quick capture? I think I do. So what was the... Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Complete usage guide with protocol constants and examples. I'm going to close this session. I'm going to go into, or was it PCAP? So it has a README. quick capture. Am I going into rabbit hole? I don't think so. Passwords. Ooh. Not gonna print out my whole password in here. Um, thank God I caught it early enough with the password. Why can I not do sudo echo? All right, let's try again. Perform your PPA operations now. Okay, close. Controller. Whoop, 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 whoop. Whoop, whoop. So it has a sync state over here. That's interesting. Okay. Invalid numeric literal at line 1. That's because I didn't build the device, right? This doesn't work. Oh, it does. So we're going to restart the amp, actually. And we're just going to focus on this, like, reverse engineering loop. And then I'll call it a day. Amp threads continue. And then something is wrong analyzing. How big is this actually? $62 kilobytes. IKEA exposes a local COAP over DTLS API on ports 5684. You need a client identity and a pre-shared key. Afterwards, you can put script put requests. How do I get those keys? All right, this actually interests me quite a bit. Make a research plan for a web research agent to teach me about all these topics, especially the thread-free API stuff. The pcap file is valid. Let me check what packets are actually in it. That's cool. What's the problem with the pcap thing? Oh, see it decode. No, this is TCP dump, huh? All right, I'll let it figure this out. Goal, with 1 week, produce a set of self-paced lesson cheat sheets and runnable examples that take you from what is Zigbee. Zigbee, run, blah, 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 home assistant path, security and lifetime, agent architecture, Nope. All right. Write a full guide on threat-free ZigBee Linux for a senior software developer. Very technical, very in-depth, very detailed, very long. So what I do often is like I'll take these deep researches, and then I'll print them out in the morning, and basically I just like read them at breakfast, go over them with a pen, my sketchbook, gather some information, like just basically do some real learning. But it just like allows me to do that without getting distracted by too many websites, and get like a coherent kind of stuff. And I've gotten used to reading like deep researches by OpenAI, so I kind of like they're actually pretty present to read. It's just that the slop is more like the structure level, so I will like often like repeat things. But I've gotten used to it, so I like can kind of parse through it. And for technical topics, they're always like very useful. Oh, why did it not do deep research? Is that what? This was still O3. Oh, I only turned on the web search. That's not what I wanted. Tools, deep research. There we go. I was like waiting. It's going to ask me 5 questions. Go, Python, whatever. Do I have the Dirigera? Yeah, that's the one I have. LAN. Yes. Both. All right. The issue isn't a handle packet. It's looking for IPv4, but the capture contains Linux SLL2 Linux cooked, which is a different layer type. What the fuck? Sure. That's weird. Like, I've never heard that. That is so weird. How would I record these? It's like because I recorded with Wireshark? That is so weird. SLL2. What's that? That sounds extremely weird. Why would we have that format? Give me the TCP dump command again to run so we can double check. That is so weird. I've never seen that, and I don't know why the quick capture would like produce something like that, because it does INEW. Should be doing port 5001, right? Oh, the capture scripts showed us it's not going to allow us to sudo, isn't it?
actually. Okay. Continue. I recorded one. All right, we're starting to diverge a little bit. Like, I think it's going to be time soon. Especially because I have actual work to do as well. All right. It's still Linux cooked v2. What the fuck? Yeah, this is weird. Why would my TCP dump on my Wi-Fi interface record Linux cooked v2 packets? And this might be a sign to like stop. um, so what is it expecting? What is the PCAP tool expecting? Oh, because I was sniffing over Ethernet, right? I used to sniff over wired Ethernet, and I don't think over Wi-Fi. I'm out of networking, man. What is managed mode? I don't understand any of this. You ran TCP dump as a non-privileged user. The binary lacked capnet raw. Yeah, this is because I sniffed on the Ethernet, right? Can go packet understand SLL2? And I'm going to do a deep research on this as well to learn what this is actually all about instead of just YOLOing my way through. And so this has been mostly, I mean, I guess we didn't really get to anything like a productive output, right? Like vibe coded all our way through. But
Hold on, why is the screen gone? Why is it trying to... What did I do? What did I do? It started sharing the screen. And then... What the fuck? I don't understand what my back to live mode. The fuck? Alright, well, I guess we'll do this, huh? So the session's not fully over. So what is it telling me? Oh, it actually got to run it. Let's test the corrected analysis. It's going to do output format, handle, link type. Okay. The issue is the opening line being printed to std out. Okay. Perfect. Now it's the Ethernet. The JQ error. Okay, so I need an explanation of what this was all about. Write a full explanation report in PPA control TTEM 25071302 explanation why PCAP SLL2 was not working.md. So I never miss an opportunity to kind of try to learn what might have happened, right? Do you guys are able to see this? I don't understand what Ecamm Live is trying to show me. God damn it. I don't know what I clicked. I clicked something in Ecamm Live and then now it's doing this like weird stuff. But it should be coming back now. Oh yeah, we're back. Okay. I don't know what was going on. So anyway, I was saying this has been resolved. I'm writing a document that explains why this PCAF stuff was happening so that I learned something. I'm going to look at it because, right, like the point of all of this was to get back in here. We did some cleanup. We struggled quite a bit, but we got our PCAP analysis going. And then what was the problem here? I'm actually curious, and then maybe you guys are curious as well. So explanation why PCAP SLL2 was not working. What is this all about? Because it's been a minute. Was unable to parse captured PPA protocol packets showing output, blah, blah. The root cause was an incompatibility between the packet capture format and the Go packet library's parsing capability. There's a special packet capture format capturing on any interface, on multiple interfaces, on certain virtual or non-Ethernet interfaces. Yeah, so it's because I was sniffing on wired Ethernet earlier, and now I'm sniffing over my Wi-Fi. Link type analysis, so it says Linux SLL2, PPA expects, couldn't extract IPv4. Why are scripts generated Linux cooked format? Fix capture format. 2. Interesting. Okay. So we're going to commit this. So this is books. This is just like add documentation about refactoring the web UI and fixing PCAP. And then I'm going to commit. We should have committed a little bit earlier, maybe. Although, is this just white space? It's mostly just white space, right? And it's like mostly the scripts that were fixed. Let me run some Go format here. Okay. Okay, let's continue reverse engineering. We recorded some. Let's record some more stuff. You tell me what. Okay, write a research plan for a web researcher to gather all kinds of technical documentation about sniffing on Linux, frame formats, etc. because I need to know more about it, especially with Go packet and PCAP decoding as well. All right, so excellent. We now have working PCAP analysis. Let's record the complete connection handshake to understand message types 10. When prompted 401 connection, start your PPA software and connect to the device. Let it run for 45 seconds to capture the full handshake and initial exchange. Okay, message type 10 might be telemetry decoding. Basic control operations. All right, so let's begin with the connection analysis for type 10. We're going to close the tool. We're going to run this, right? And then, oh my God, why is it doing this? Thank God my password is like super long, so you only got to see the first 4 letters. All right, let's try again. That's the initial handshake, right? Gonna let it run a little bit. I'm really curious. So this was like a mind-blowing thing when I pasted a PCAP into O3 and said like, please reverse engineer how the preset names are done. I can show that. I still have this log somewhere in here. Reverse DSP. Man, this is such garbage. DSP protocol message analysis. This was like kind of mind blowing. I was like, here's a sniff of a DSP speaker packet protocol, right? And so I already had like some decoding. This is like the PCAP tool. And then it was like, okay, like it thought for a really long time, or like not even that long. And it was like, oh, it looks like this byte does this and this byte does that. And then I was like, write a Go tool to parse it. So this is where the PCAP tool comes from. What other things should I decode to get further? And then at the end, it was just like decoding the preset messages. It was crazy. So preset name decoding, and I was like, oh, look at this pattern matches to that, and then matches to that, and then it does this, and then I just like wrote the code. Press enter to record device discovery, trigger scan discovery in your software. I guess we can do that again as well. So it did the discovery, okay. Yeah, this was kind of wild. Like I was like, okay, this is amazing because this is just so tedious and it's pure packet matching, right? Okay, so let me copy this, write a full book about this for a senior embedded software developer, very detailed, very technical, very in-depth, very long. I don't know if that's a good prompt or not. I've never really like experimented all too much. Here we have the developer's guide to IKEA Tradfri, which this stuff I really like because it is like a very pleasant format to read in, I find. Plus it has like all the links to the original resources, right? Like it will actually link back to these things. So it's not like it removes me going to the original sources. It like gives me a work plan to go to the original sources, and it like makes that all the more pleasant to have a wide set of original resources, including forum posts and just like very relevant resources without, yeah, I don't know. I just find like I learned so much stuff. I mean, obviously I forget stuff because there's so much to learn, but it just like allows me to go straight to the interesting parts of things instead of like, learning how to navigate Stack Overflow or some stuff. So the very long book here was like actually not that very long. I'm a little bit disappointed. But maybe this is also okay enough. So these things I just print just because I like paper, and also I bind them. So it gives me like basically little bound magazines about different topics that I put on my shelves, and it's really fun to just like read them. All right. I'm not gonna go back. Okay, let the connection idle to capture ping keep alive traffic. I already did, but sure, if you want to. Oh, I actually really enjoy this. So if I was by myself and like not talking and like maybe not a Sunday, I would actually start the web UI development on the side. Or I would do my staring into space, right? Where I have now documentation about TCP dump format, and then I just like start thinking a little bit more about how much I want to refactor. I also was like, oh, do you know PDF? After this capture, we'll record this. By the way, can you parse this? So adjust input output volumes and gains. So you've run out of tokens, compact thread. Oh, because it like literally just dumped the whole PDF. Oh my God, it is so bad. Can you parse PDFs? If so, if not, how? So this shed adjusting input output volume gains, right? So we do have inputs. This thing has no inputs. It has one input and it has two outputs. Okay. Input, output, input, output, input, output. And the master volume, why not? Okay. PDF to text and QPDF. So, I mean, I could have found that out by myself, huh? PDF to text. Okay. Okay, cool. Press mute operations. Oh, I already did mute operations, but whatever. Mute. So there's no input mute, and then there's this. And then maybe I'll mute the master gain as well. Bloop, bloop, bloop. What is COAP DTLS? Write a full book about COAP DTLS and related topics for an embedded software developer. I'm wondering why it's like so short, but that's like, I do need to get better at prompting this dude. I think it might have, I don't know if I was influenced by stuff that was there before. All right, EQ adjustments, frequency. In I thought you could like alert, okay, no. I'm gonna stop. Okay, I recorded a bunch. I stopped at EQ. Actually, why am I not seeing? Oh, I see. Okay, so this guy here, record specific operations. Record operation 6 EQ adjustments. Let us continue that. I'm sure there's more elegant ways of doing this. Okay. Quality. All right, let's turn on the high pass. No resonance on this one? Oh, it's fixed. Okay. I wonder if there's like a... Let me do this on the output as well. Oh, this one doesn't have any AQs, so it's only on the main. All right. Preset recall. Cool. So okay. Uh, uh, um. It's funny, but actually I didn't think of like microcontroller Zigbee stuff, but press ready when entered to start recording. Okay, I stopped, I recorded a bunch, start analyzing them, use sub agents, write reports in PPA control ttemp 2025-07-13, PCAP analysis. I don't know what it's going to analyze or why, but I'm sure it will make a decent decision since it's going to do like, you know, based on its training corpus. So anyway, I hope for whoever was skeptical and is watching that this is like maybe giving them a different perspective on how useful this is. Because like to remind you, I've like mostly yapping on screen, right? Like but we did a bunch of at least refactors and getting like the capture to work and having better flags. And now we're starting to analyze PCAPs, but also more importantly, we also deleted a bunch of old functionality. The parts that stick out to me is reacquainting myself with the code base was fairly quick. I got a sense of what is going to be hard, which is this multi-client implementation. There's a good chance that I might just like restart entirely from scratch because I don't think it's necessarily worth salvaging. I do have a couple of designs around it. We did also build this little thing here. Can I view this in code language not supported? The minimal UI, can I open this in a web browser? Open on remote. Oh, what does this mean? Can I visualize a HTML file in a browser view within VS Code? Cursor. We created a bunch of documentation. Why was I doing the Zigbee stuff? Oh, so that I can reset the device programmatically, right? Like, because one thing I would like to do is like once we have a better understanding of the protocol, I know that the DSP firmware is pretty brittle. Like I get it to lock itself up pretty quickly. So I want to know where the limits are and like how fast I need to throttle my software. Because I'm sure throttling is going to be one of the important things to tackle. So I kind of want to let it run, then see when it like freezes, retry again, kind of reset the device using Zigbee with a little tool to do that, right? And we'll see what this does. So now it's like starting to analyze these things. Do I want to start recording the preset save? Yeah, sure. How do we do save to new user preset? Okay, well, we're going to do this. We're going to move things around a little bit. And then we're going to do save to new user preset, overwrite this user preset. Then we're going to do save to new user preset, foobar, foobar. Then we're going to do, we're going to do one more. We're going to change the EQ. See, this is what I meant. Is it starting to run things? No, it's not, right? This happens fairly often. And I want to like save to new user preset. Okay. Delay phase. I don't want delay phase. What else is it trying to get me to do? Delay phase, I think after that, error conditions, real-time monitoring, rapid commands. I don't think we need any of that anymore. Code, install extension, live server. Since you have minimal UI open, live server, most popular, open with live server. Let's go install that. I do have that, right? Preview from live server, launch on browser. Right click your open with live server. Okay. Oh, there it is. I should have seen that. Server started at localhost 5000. And now what? I don't think this is working. I saw it go live. There it is. Starting. I think it's crashing, huh? Click to close server. Alright, we're gonna do this the old-fashioned way. Where was that? In today's date, right? Python 3, there we go. 3000 address already in use. Alright, we also have this. I mean, which looks sick as fuck, to be honest, compared to whatever I would have done. It's decoding the protocol so far. Got a bunch of documentation out of this. I'm curious to see what the analysis of these PCAP is going to give us. Why is it doing the S trace? The fuck? Or is that left over from before? The fuck? Alright. We got to learn some IKEA stuff that I'm pretty excited about this actually. I got some SNS code. That's something I want to build is like just an an MCP that allows me to send notifications to myself or over a hook. We have the remote control. We have this guy, which I wonder if if they fixed the bug. No, what is going on? Is this something with mine? Policy, same server policy disallows reading from null. That's so funny. Blocked. So it's like a sandbox issue. Is that... I didn't update anything. Does it happen in Chrome? Yo, come on. No, it doesn't happen in Chrome. That's funny. So, this doesn't look as good as the other one, does it? Although I kind of like that. This looks... And at least it has the icons make more sense to me here. Woo. Yeah, I like this as well. But that's React. All right, what is it doing? PCAP, output format, JSON-L, keep alive, tping. I'm really curious about this part, to be honest. I wonder why it does the strace. What's going on with this strace business? What's going on with this strace business? No strace here, strace. What the fuck? Why the strace? It's just this one thread that does the weird strace stuff. That's funny. All right, Linux packet sniffing internals. Gonna learn something new as well. All right, I'm gonna have like a PCAP magazine tomorrow to read. All right, I like that. And then one about Zigbee, which is also something I always wanted to do. Recap, recall, and quick capture. Cool. Key discoveries. Unknown message types 910 dominate traffic 90%. Payload parsing offset error identified. 9 Hz audio streaming confirmed. What the fuck? 9 Hz audio streaming confirmed. What does that even mean? interesting. So it created these files here. Analyze PY. Analyze PPA payload PY. Format status. Error server. And then did it decode? Man, it created a lot of shit. Okay. Summary report. Likely audio DSP data. Okay. Analyze the unknown message types and maybe look at PPA-TXT. No. Which might give you some idea, but it doesn't document type 10. Yeah, and at this point, I think it's so hard to not continue doing this stuff. Because preset recall message structure actually what I should do is use the Oracle to understand the protocol structure as well. This is where probably O3 Pro would come in pretty useful as well. So that's maybe something I'll try next time. So yeah, this is this was like what, 3 hours? 4 hours. 4 hours of hacking with agents on a project that is not trivial and that I also forgot about, and that was actually kind of a legacy pre-LLM code base. I think with LLM, if the code base had been generated with LLMs, even with SLOP, it would have been easier to refactor. And I don't think an LLM would have come up with this weird multi-client channel-driven architecture, which is also because I didn't know Go, I didn't know idiomatic Go at the time, which is also a human thing, right? To not have the training corpus, so like to do the opposite of like trying to do things that require a lot of reasoning, even though they shouldn't. So yeah, there you go. Thanks for watching. Whoever stuck by. I think there's like 3 people still on YouTube. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, thanks for dropping by to participate in the chat. That was great. I like the more and more people are chatting with me while I'm doing this, so that's great. I'm not putting any effort in like promoting the channel or stuff like that. I just want to keep the consistency for now, and then we'll see where I grow from there. All right, have fun.